a lot weighing on D+ to be able to stand their ground against Delight.
We're playing the jungle tax.
And Viper, yes. And yeah, this is what we were talking about. The Renekton is going to be taken away, though. And that is dangerous, because now there's the other two bans, like the Maokai, the Sejuani. That,
I think they're going to
lose on.
I think they're going to give the Maokai up in this draft, I would imagine. Now, this does empower the Jace if it is going to go through. But I'd rather face Peanut's Maokai if you trust your jungler, and Lucid has been so strong this season, especially with Showmaker and the champion pools they can utilize to actually find that synergy. I'd rather face Peanut's Maokai than Viper's Ezreal. And
I'd rather face Peanut's Sejuani than Maokai. I think, like, because he just doesn't lose. He just never loses on it. And he looks like he doesn't have to even try when he plays Maokai. He just presses the R button, everyone dies. I don't understand it. We've seen it lose, right? But when Peanut's playing it, it looks impossible for the Maokai to lose.
It should be an Ezreal ban. It should be. In my opinion, anything else, I mean, you have to pay the price of it, but anything else is just, it's not worth it to give this champion over to a player who has insane numbers. I mean, we've put the stats up so many times, it feels like it's almost boring to talk about, but it shouldn't be allowed. They will ban the Maokai instead.
And I completely understand this ban, but you don't have to ban Renekton. I don't think the Renekton ban was necessary. I think that they could still just go for Sejuani here, because, like, Ezreal, Sejuani, both of these champions equal win for Humble Life Esports at the moment.
I would definitely say go Ezreal, and they are going to do it. This does, of course, leave the Sejuani open, and that is a strong point here for Lucid.
Ooh, but I don't like it. When Lucid plays Sejuani, I feel like their early game slows down so much, Wolf. So maybe it's a trap here for Humble Life Esports. Maybe they're doing double duty by the fact that this Sejuani slipped through the bans.
I think there's definitely a lot of different picks you can grab here. The Corki is something that Showmaker has avoided, and it would be really interesting if he was so bold to grab the Yone himself, but they're going to take the Poppy away from Peanut. Now, if you're going to ban the Maokai instead of the Ezreal, I think you do need to have something where you can have a little bit more pressure. They're not going to commit to it, though. And I thought perhaps this was going to end up being one of those flex picks of the Poppy. The problem is if you show it this early, it does give a lot of... Okay, they're just teasing Peanut. That's what they were doing. It was kind of strange to pick it that early if you're going to flex it, because it makes it really easy to ban in the second phase for Hanwha. It will just be the Azir to come through here instead. And Ivern is the consideration. This double 80 carry setup with the Ivern brushes, with the shields, has been so popular. Peanut's been very good at this pick.
Oh, man, and it feels like such a checkmate as well, because it's already with Sejuani face up in the draft, so you can't just pick the brand and burn it all down, right? Like, we saw that yesterday with Ivan being pretty unanswerable until, you know, it colossally lost the early game. Ivan is a very, very strong champion unless you have some of these answers. And right now, with the Sejuani locked in, it's going to be difficult to find a few of those unless Showmaker can find some really good angles. But Corki going to be locked in here for Zeka, an understandable one.
Considering the Tristana, but 0 and 2 on this patch right now. It's only been played in those 2 games. Its prio went way down.
Yeah.
And I think that the Corki is definitely the stronger option. And if you want to get some Permafrost synergy, the Jax needs to be locked in now. It looks like they're going to look for the Gnar here instead. And this has been something that's been heavily criticized here on the global side as the Sejuani Gnar, but you cannot really overstate the value of having this extremely strong, blind, pickable top lane champion that really weakens a lot of the other meta picks, especially a frontline.
Yeah.
When you go for the Ivern, you have less frontline because you didn't opt into one of the tankier jungles. You don't have, you know, necessarily the same sort of tank options and support because Leona's going to get banned away here. We may even see an Alistar ban. So if you want to play Cassante, you're going to have a losing lane up there on the top side. It's King and Gnar. He's been so good on this pick this season. We saw it in the pre-show. Some of those highlights, if you've been watching this season, you know it's one of his all-time best picks. So, yeah, not Permafrost synergy, not the Jax, but still very strong in isolation and what it does for this draft.
Well, I imagine a Kalista ban will be considered. I wonder whether aiming is happy to move towards a Senna. And I know before people get upset, you know, Senna is not a champion that people like too much at the moment. It will allow them to theoretically flex Sejuani.
Yeah, it is possible.
And I would like that, not because it's a good lane, but because it lets them pick brand.
Yeah, I actually think it's a pretty reasonable option. It's not going to be a fun time in the laning phase, and you will have to really rely on scaling and the Gnar actually getting ahead in whatever matchup it's going to be to then side lane. The Aphelios, is one that definitely makes you raise your eyebrows here. It's been an old aiming favorite.
Yeah.
They have a decent front line for it, with the likely tank is here to come through here for Showmaker. I think in this composition, you have the Sejuani, but it is a very risky pick, and it's been a very polarizing aiming pick because it usually means that he's going to suck up a lot of resources. He is going to try to be that late game hyper carry, and it is going to be all about him, as they will just opt into this K'Sante pick because they need a front line, and this is why the Gnar is so strong.
I mean, this is like the standard, right? You're always just going to try and put a meatball in that top lane. Delight's pick could just be a Rakan, just because he's so incredibly good at it. It does synergize relatively well with the composition as well, give them that extra layer of engage. But Rel is another option.
Yeah, Rel feels really good for D+'s comp as well.
Oh, true.
And so I think it's kind of a double whammy to take that away. And this may be, like, I really hope it's not a Lulu. It's pretty good with the Sejuani. It's been a classic lane with the Aphelios, gives them a little bit more sticking power. But the Leona is gone, the Alistar is gone. The Rel feels so free when the Alistar is taken away. It was taken away by D+. This is a really tricky one. And the Renata we've seen a few times and has been very good at anti-dive. And Kellen has been one of the only players who's been able to consistently use it kind of like an engaged pick with his flash handshakes. But it is very risky, I feel, into the Ivern because it's not tanky. It's hard to get into those brushes. If they have better setup and they're poking you down with the Ezreal, doesn't feel great there. The other option would have been to try to go old school, like for like Emilio or something like that. A little buffed on this patch, but I really don't think that would have been the right way to go about things. I think that in a lot of ways, this Rel pick was very intelligent for Hanwha Life. They have this Corki that's going to scale, going to hit a 2-item power spike. The Ezreal's going to have a really strong 2-item spike. If D+ can't get control of the map or take an early dragon before then, it's so oppressive what they're playing into. They have a low-range AD carry. They don't have a classic engage support, and it is going to be trying to walk towards brushes when the best Ezreal in the LCK, possibly the world, is chunking you down with Mystic shots. I'm going to have to lean pretty heavily towards the side of Hanwha Life in this first draft.
I would too. I think that this is a draft that they have piloted very well in the past, and I don't think that this is an example of what D+ have looked the best on, right? Like, I feel like this is more of that cookie-cutter stock standard draft, and D+ haven't necessarily, I don't know, earned the same level of confidence on these sort of picks, despite the fact that some of them are historically some of their best. I'm willing to let them come back and show us that they are going to be capable, but it's looking a little bit dangerous. Let's get on the riff, game one.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Wow. D+ fans out in force today.
미니언 생성까지 30초
And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do with a similar draft to what they kind of lost to Gen G on, right? Like, they came out, they showed the really cool stuff with the Twisted Fate, and then came in with, you know, the Azirs and the Sejuanis, and it just didn't really hit the same.
Yeah, this is the kind. There's two schools of thought, right? There's the concept of D+ playing their style with the TF, right? The Vi and the Talia kind of setups for Lucid and Showmaker. Those types of drafts, as we are looking to have a potential lane swap set up here. And then there's the play a standard meta and give aiming all the money. And here on the global side, we're more leaning towards the first type of D+ draft. This one is definitely not that one. It is a standard draft where aiming is going to get money. And the Aphelios is not as standard, but standard for D+ and standard for aiming, as Viper and Delight are able to get here safely, unseen. Doran also unseen, and Kingan's going to get the news very soon.
Yeah. Kingan might also... yeah, I think he smells something, and they spot that the K'Sante is moving towards Lucid's jungle. Lucid going to be able to take his Raptor camp. And Flash actually burnt from Doran.
Look at this. Instantly a back channeled from Kellen. It's like we might see that support going top. Again, we've seen this a little bit more recently, where you kind of protect your top laner for a little bit, but he actually stops the channel. And they are just going to send the Gnar to roam around the map and follow Doran. Now, this will technically favor the Aphelios in terms of the plate clear because of the, you know, not backdoor protection, but the lane swap protection that the top lane plates have. As we will go back over to this. I didn't actually see.
Did he just flash Q to get the popcorn chickens? He did.
Okay.
He actually just did that to try and deny Lucid.
And I mean, I think that's reasonable considering also how low eco this Kazante is going to be. That's some money he's going to get as well.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's not going to be flashing on any plays in the near future either. So I think that's a fair play.
If he teleports to this bottom lane, that's when I'll be a little bit worried. But instead, he's just going to walk up top and try and get the push in. 5 win streak here for the Rel as well, who's really been having a pretty good time. Down towards the bottom side, go D+ though.
They have
they're just going to clear out the jungle.
They have a lot of push power, especially when the Crescendum comes out, and that's going to rip through this turret, but it's going to be a while before he can cycle through those guns. The Ezreal has his Empowered W. They have Demolish as well on the top side, so it's not as bad of a race, but you could see that lane swap protection really at work here. And this does allow Doran to avoid losing the Gnar matchup, but I think that's more about what this is going to be, the reason why they swapped, than losing lane to an Aphelios in the bottom side for your Ezreal. But it does kind of warp this game in a very funky way. Now they're going to swap back.
Ooh, Showmaker actually taking a bit of damage into Zeka here. Does get that Conqueror proc and is able to actually even things out relatively well. The added range of these Sand Soldiers, but he's going through a whole host of mana as Lucid is going to turn up. Spotted on the ward here as Peanut is just going to lope away. We'll be able to take this Rift Scuttler as well after he's finished preparing it.
Tougher to get grasp stacks into the Corki. He did go for Conqueror's Peanut, now also going to harass here.
Yeah, Rucola does come down as Peanut just wanting to try and make friends with these Raptors. Gonna take him a little bit of time, but there he goes. Just going to smite that one away. Top of the morning to you, Lucid.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Ivern, once he captures the camp, it takes time for him to then actually get the money for it and actually complete the take, but he can instantly smite a camp to secure all of it after it's been captured. So Ivern can be very annoying like this. Come over, slowly capture the camp, and then smite the whole thing away instantly. So there's not really anything Lucid can do about that. Showmaker low on mana, isn't able to come over there, is pushed in, so couldn't actually help out. So Lucid losing some additional farm here, finds himself very far behind the Ivern.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've seen an Ivern just like control the jungle quite this much. And look, it is an example of how the early game went. The fact that Doran did put Lucid behind just a little bit, sort of delaying that level 2 for that little bit of time by taking all of the little Raptors. Can be quite frustrating to deal with. We'll see how Lucid's going to go trying to catch back up in this one. Does have a bottom side of his jungle to clear through, and that should at least get him within touching distance of the camps that Peanut's been able to lock down for himself. But now, Peanut is free to get around the map and start making things happen, as he's just going to grow some things in this Tri-Brush. Lucid in the area, and will be able to assist this bottom lane that have now agreed to an actual laning phase now that they've got a few levels in them.
Just plate the advantage to Aiming and Kellen right now, but otherwise relatively even. I mean, the CS is dead even.
Oh, in comes Lucid. They're going to look for Viper here. Just Arcane shifts over the top. That's a straight-up leapfrog. You love to see it.
Very clean. You got the Gnar doing the little bouncies up on the top lane, and you got the Ezreal doing it in the bottom lane.
Hey, there we go. 2 leapfrogging champions, 1 on each side. Oh my goodness. Doran taking a lot of damage to that boomerang.
Yeah, this is why he didn't want to lane into the Gnar, but ultimately you will have to eventually do so.
Yep.
Zeka has really been, I think, the main reason why Peanut has had this much freedom to annoy Lucid, why Showmaker hasn't been able to help out, why the bottom side gank is relatively easy to just stave off. You have the Arcane Shift, like they can kind of keep putting that pressure on, and it's just a lot of this is down to the fact that Corki has maintained constant prio, has a pretty massive CS advantage over Showmaker. They've both already teleported, and he's stacked up 10 CS advantage, has a Cull purchased as well.
Light taking a lot of damage here, as Aiming with that bailout, boosting up the attack speed a little bit, really helping out here, and just utilizing the Gravitum very, very well. It is going to be Lucid securing that first grub. Peanut going to come on over, and now the Mega Gnar and the Sejuani and Bristle just going to make their way over the back wall. And so it is going to be 1 grub going to Peanut here. Be able to collect that for at least the experience, but
helping out. Aiming's getting the plates here again. Another plate to the Aphelios, and he's the gold king, man. He gets the money. He's getting a lot of it already early in this game. No kills or anything like that, but he's stacking it up. And, you know, this is going to potentially be a big problem later on if he wins some of those early skirmishes, even before he's quite strong.
sometimes your support's better than you expect them to be.
Yeah.
As Kellen does manage to nail the handshake, therefore aiming misses the Q. A little bit sad, but that's all right. They have managed to secure, like you say, all of those plates. Still, it is going to be a gold advantage for Life Esports. I think largely due to the fact that Peanut is a little bit ahead in the jungle, but also Zeka just laning exceptionally well on this Corki into the Azir right now. 10 CS going to be the gap, and you can see he's still putting that pressure on. Has this wave actually in his favor as he sends Showmaker back home. So Showmaker going to have to try and make up some ground as we head towards the mid lane, the mid game. And it's not, like, oftentimes you do see Showmaker with a whole lot of lane pressure, right? Like, this is not the thing that I was expecting necessarily. It's not a lane where you're like, oh, well, Corki should smash it anyway. Like, yes, things did get a little bit better from, like, the old Corki Azir matchup, but we have seen it go better for Azir in the past.
Yeah, and it's tough to gank a Corki as the Sejuani pre-6 because it's really easy for the Corki to just Valkyrie. Oh, this is a little bit rough. So that's furthering the problem here. Remember, Showmaker does not have teleport.
He does have a blanket, though.
Yeah.
And that is pretty cool, keeping himself warm. It's not that chilly here at Low Park, just to let you guys know if you were worried about Showmaker being too cold.
The grub advantage here could be a problem with the Gnar side laning, right, with the Azir side laning, but with the Cassante in the game, he's not going to be able to itemize for that fast Nashor's Tooth we sometimes see, which would have been great for the Conqueror as well. Kellen's going to take some damage here. Showmaker's just really going to have a rough time. He's just trying to get his Leandries out slowly. He's trying to just farm, but he's significantly behind. Lucid comes over here to try to relieve the pressure, but Zeka knows this is the one angle where he could actually be in danger, and he's just going to back off. So tough to gank this Corki, and now Viper's starting to take control of the bottom lane. It was dead even in CS, and he was behind on plate gold, but now with the Sheen, a few of these longswords in his inventory and these Qs starting to connect, he is really starting to take control here bottom side as well. And the Cassante has weathered the storm top too. And Life are really just generating, it's a small gold lead, but it's starting to add up here across the lanes. You can see the Aphelios, who had the plate advantage, is actually now kind of losing his lead.
Yeah, and I just love how well this Sejuani pick has been punished by this Ivan composition. Lucid going to try and cancel my words, as that was a flash. That was so sick from Doran. Just going to be able to flash ulti his way out. Of course, that's some big cooldowns that needed to be invested. That's a really cool way of doing it.
Yeah, that was very slick. You know, it's definitely not what you're going to expect if you are Lucid in this case. Kind of hard to outplay when he flashes.
The thing is as well is that it's Doran. So even after the flash, you're thinking, oh, that's a Doran thing to do. But then he all-outs, and then it's beautiful. Yeah, I love it. Keeps people on their toes, because Doran is known to use flash in weird and wonderful ways.
But this show of the Sejuani topside is another way to then punish and go bottom here and take this dragon. It was a Chemtech dragon here to start things off, so not the highest value, which is I think why we haven't seen either team really prioritize it very much. D+ went for the grubs. They ended up getting 2-1 there. But now when you see the jungler topside, yes, Doran lost his flash, had to use his ultimate, but it means you get a guaranteed Drake stack here. Will be Infernal second, so also a high value dragon. We don't know what the soul is going to be just yet, but you know, Doran's flash usage there was not in vain.
Yeah. And with Infernal coming up, what are we expecting? I'm hoping for a Cloud. It could still be a Hex tech, which would be fantastic.
I think
the sadness would be Ocean.
Worst case, I think, for D+ is if it's a Mountain with this Cassante, you know, on the other side.
Oh,
very
true.
tanky with all these shields as well, which are already empowered by the solo Chemtech Dragon itself. Is Kellen's hiding over here?
Kellen is behind enemy lines right now. He's going to be able to pick up the handshake, and Delight just crashes down. Showmaker not going to be investing anything into trying to pick up the Rel, but it is going to guarantee some grubs.
This is, you know, again, significant with Gnar and Azir in sides. Can actually be a big problem later on in the game, but
not to mention Aphelios, who, if he does get red-white, especially white, you can really cut through the turrets. Zeka taking a lot of damage here from Kingin. Just standing his ground, though. Takes a fossil to the back of the head. Still pretty sure that's a fossil with this skin. And Daisy going to pop on up. It's a couple of grubs being fought for here as 2 plates down in the mid lane. And Life have just brute forced this one back as Glacial Prison not quite going to land. Almost hit aiming, but that's the same team, so that one's not going to work out. So Lucid is going to have to slink back into the jungle.
This is really rough for D+ because they kind of Hard Force trying to guarantee they end up with this massive grub advantage. They don't get it, and they were trying to set up that Kellen play where he has his ultimate available, he has the handshake, and in that choke point, they set up maybe a hostile takeover into Azir ult.
Oh, Daisy gonna face check. That's gonna be dangerous for Daisy, but probably not for the rest of Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah,
she will be taking out 50 gold to Kellen.
Yeah.
Aiming, the Gold King is very upset about that.
This is rough for D+ because they committed so much to that topside play, didn't end up getting a big grub advantage, lost plates in mid, as you mentioned. Viper picks up more gold. He's going to go ahead and back right now. Might actually have that Triforce ready, which would be insane this early. Okay, 1250. He does have that picked up despite actually being the one who lost out on the plates with the lane swap. Ends up picking up some gold there. And, you know, he's very far away from that 2-item spike, but still feeling very happy about how this all went down. Traded even on grubs. And Kellen's Gambit there, it doesn't end up costing him his summoners or anything like that. There's no punish there, but they don't actually find the fight they were looking for. Hanwha Life suss it out, hold firm on the grubs, and end up winning out on the map. I mean, no kills in this game, but Hanwha is just playing the map so much better. They're 1,000 gold, 1,200 ahead.
And this is also not one of these stories that's going to get better for D+ as the game goes on, right? We know that these Ivan compositions just scale pretty beautifully with the way they're able to set up around objectives and really get these 5v5s working the way they want. This is a very traditional front-to-back composition, double carry, good front line, an actual enchanter support in the Ivern, and then the engage from the Rel. This is everything that you'd want for team fighting in the late game. D+, no slouches either, but it's just not quite the same as having the Ivan with the team, as Kellen going to be discovered by said Ivan, and he's going to now look to try and turn this one around. Lucid in position, just waiting for that moment. They wanted to bait it out, but Kellen, they just smelt that there was possibly something fishy in the air, or something bory in the air.
Now, this
not your cat.
No.
I meant Bristle.
Bori is very rarely in the air. She's usually just on the floor.
Yeah. Or on the couch.
Or on the couch, or in my lap, but... Yep. I do think that despite this significant lead here for Hanwha Life, this game will really be, I'm going to hold my breath on this for a second, the first fight win is really going to determine who gets map control for these next few objectives, and that fight is going to happen over this Infernal Dragon, and if Hanwha Life win it, then they can actually be so oppressive with the comp. I mean, even before we get to the late game, this comp is going to be so annoying to deal with. Yeah. But if they lose it and D+ can maintain map control and constantly threaten, and Lucid actually gets a little bit unlocked for the first time in this game, then this composition for the Ivern is less easy to pilot, especially when you consider the Gnar in the side lane into the Cassante. The map kind of opens up in a big way for D+. So, if you're a D+ fan, don't panic just yet. Yes, it's a significant lead. Yes, this top turret did go down. It's actually first turret. But first team fight, that's where D+ can strike back. And Hanwha may even just before these 2-item spikes are hit for their double AD carry, avoid that fight. They already have a 1 Drake lead. And if they don't get a fight they don't want, they could just say, nah, we don't need to actually force this because our Ivern composition, if we're not there first, we can't set it up. Red-White's here for aiming. He's perfectly set for this. And they're just going to say, no, we'll take Herald instead. This is a great decision by Hanwha Life.
I love the way that they're playing out this early game. Not only do they lane swap just to make sure that the Ivern gets off the ground in the right way, but then they also sacrifice where they need to be sacrificing. They understand that they're the composition that doesn't have the pressure on them to get things moving in the early stages. And it's good for D+ to be able to get themselves this dragon. Absolutely fantastic. Ocean is going to be the soul that comes in. Even more brushes. We've got an Ivern and an Ocean Rift. My goodness, there's just plants everywhere. We're going to need that guy from YouTube that cleans up people's houses for free. You know the one? I for some reason went on a vortex of his videos more than recently as, okay, Showmaker,
I don't know.
Be able to take down the outer turret on the bottom side. Yeah, he just mows lawns. It's just a lot of lawn mowing, and we're going to need a fair bit of that here on this Rift if Peanut has anything to say about it.
Yeah. When they... Okay, King and...
he is walking the wrong direction as Daisy's going to come up. There's an all-out to interrupt the hop, and this could just be first blood right here, and there it is. It's Doran that locks it out. And his flash, by the way, was back up and available. This guy's used it already a couple of times this game in unorthodox ways. Didn't even need it to secure first blood.
Yeah, and Kingen used his flash and is still going to die. And just, yes, you got the dragon here as D+. That's valuable stats for aiming for Showmaker, but It just doesn't feel that great when everything else is going so Hanwha's way. They have a ton of vision bottom side for a Dragon that Hanwha just didn't even really care about. And yes, it helped secure the turret for Showmaker, who is got a big injection of gold, you know, has been behind in lane, but will have that Nashor's Tooth fairly soon. They're going to try to TP in and defend this turret, but feels like a pipe dream.
Well, it is at least going to be Shelly getting a charge. It's now down to basically no health, as the cannon also going to be eaten by the turret. Not great. Viper just walking up with impunity, understanding that he has the range advantage, and they just don't really have too many options when Viper has cleanse.
Exactly, he has cleanse, he doesn't care. Now Showmaker's just going to get caught.
I've seen this movie before. It in fact just happened. Magnet Storm going to come on through. That is going to be the Emperor's Divide, but Zeka's going to turn up, and Showmaker realizes that he's being checkmated.
Hanwha Lifer just running circles around D+ this game. It's insane. Lucid looking for this, but guess what? He's got cleanse.
That is not a bad cleanse.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you were saying, though, just moments before. Viper just doesn't care about your Sejuani engage. You've got a Renata Glass. You're not going to catch this Ezreal. Best Ezreal in the LCK, by the way. That's there's no minions there, Viper. It'll take a little bit more than that one.
Yeah.
But Zeka punishes Showmaker because it was such an easy set play for D+. Like, it's so obvious what they're going to do. They're just going to send Showmaker top. Doran isn't TPing. You can see that because he's got the wave stacked over there, and he's like, oh, I'm safe. But Doran is walking up. And this is what happens to King, and again, moments before. This one a little bit less egregious, but I don't really agree with the flash choice here, especially considering how he did it. Not sure about that one, but
the all-out interruption was absolutely fantastic there from Doran.
This one is the one that's really rough because you know Zeka has TP. Doran doesn't even need to TP for this, comes over here, and Showmaker was just greeting to try to get the turret, wanted to get his Nashor's Tooth. He doesn't have it just yet, but that's his first death of the game. 2 kills here for Hanwha, not even in the team fights yet. You know, we haven't even seen the oppressive pushes yet.
And Delight able to just walk up and press Hex Splash, which is just pretty crazy. Peanut goes down to about 50%. As D+ still trying to find some angles here. Daisy getting amongst it. Good handshake there onto Delight, who's taking a lot of damage. Aiming has some really good guns for this moment. Peanut going to get taken down low. Showmaker with the flash. Doesn't actually press the ulti button just yet, as he doesn't even have it available, but Peanut's still so incredibly low. There is an all-out from Doran, though, as King is just going to crush his way out of there, and no one is dead.
Such a good setup for D+ because they had the Emperor's Divide set up that they could use defensively. Viper.
There is the Emperor's Divide. He finally uses it into the handshake. And Aiming is going to be delivered some money.
All right, well, that's a huge win here for D+. That was such a good setup for D+ because they had Red-White, they had Emperor's Divide, they had a really nice front line there. Kingan's Narbar. Uh-oh, speaking of Kingan.
Oh, dear. Well, Zeka is going to look for the mini Gnar once again. He's charging up towards the Mega, but he's on about 200 health. And there he goes, not even able to get the Mega Gnar. And solo kill here for Zeka, pulling ahead even further in that metric.
Yeah, Dragon wasn't even up when they had that big scuffle over Vision moments before. And yes, they got the kill on the Viper, but D+ aren't able to turn into a Dragon. It feels like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Look at the brushes, the Ivern brushes you mentioned, the Ocean Soul brushes. This is where you start to see the oppression of this composition, but Lucid's in good position here. Narbar's getting set up by Kingan, and going in this deep as Delight really costs you. He does get out despite the ultimate here from Kellen, but Showmaker and crew just control the area so well, and they have that Mega Gnar. Red-White expires for Aiming, but the damage is done. And then Viper, unfortunately, gets a little bit greedy here, just goes straight back to mid, ease forward, and this is what we always look for in an Ezreal is when do you E in? What are you going for? What are you doing? And a rare miss here from Viper, using that in Showmaker, it instantly punishes. Ezreal is so critical in this meta. The flash here from Zeka is great also to make sure Kingan can't get his Narbar. It's so critical to be able to punish quickly, and Showmaker did just that.
Well, Doran is, speaking of punishing, is going to find Kellen and then realizes there's no one here to do damage because Ezreal was a little bit far away in the mid lane. So therefore just going to let Kellen walk that one off. Aiming with a couple of items, Kraken Slayer and the Bloodthirster both now completed. Bloodthirster, for when they get into some of these red-white fights, Aiming is going to be really, really dangerous. But probably wants to get to about 3 items before he's going to be really scary.
The LDR is going to be the critical one to cut through that Cassante health bar. They already have Showmaker on Nashor's Tooth plus Leandri's, so Doran is not going to be very tanky. Well, he will be, but he will not last very long against those items, obviously. And yeah,
this is a tank-killing 80 carry, absolutely.
Yeah, the setup here for D+ a little bit rocky.
Yeah, blue buff is just going to be pulled back there by Daisy. Kingen with teleport available. Doesn't quite have a Mega Narbar just yet, but he's going to be getting towards it relatively soon. Aiming, just parking himself here in mid. This is what we see our Ezreals do all the time. That is just take control of the K-Ram.
Yeah, I'm just going to shove through so easily. Corki 2-item, Ezreal 2-item. Very difficult for D+ to kind of sit on Baron and say, come at me, because they will come at you and they will poke you, and you cannot start the Baron. Even with this Nashor's Tooth as Year, you have so much damage, but it's not enough to actually deny entry there for Hanwha Life. They have the poke advantage in this composition. You can offer very little back in terms of poke. I mean, basically zero. So that's one of the issues here of this composition for D+. It needs to be ahead. It needs to be in full control. And when you're trying to force control by walking towards objectives, that's Hanwha's wheelhouse. That's what they want you to do. That's where they want you to tussle in this game state where Viper could say, all right, well, people are in range of my Q. That's where I want to be.
Yeah. One thing that D+ has going for them is an extraordinarily fast Baron. If they ever get some spare time, the Azir Aphelios are going to rip it to shreds. I just don't know whether that's ever going to be possible with the amount of vision control you can see Hanwha Life Esports has. A lot of it very defensive at the moment. Having a look there, especially towards the top side, their avenue towards this Baron is entirely lit up. Bottom side of the map, though, 2.5 minutes until the Drake. That is going to be sole point for Hanwha Life Esports. They might move some of that vision down as we get closer and closer to that moment. But right now, it is just making sure that, like we say, they don't give D+ that opportunity to head towards Baron. And in fact, they're just going to start it themselves. Lucid is currently backing, and Delight is spotted on a ward. I imagine D+ has an inkling as to what's going on here, but can they actually get over is the question. Lucid does cancel the back, but can they actually get in time is the question, as Kingan's going to have to flash over, but it's not even going to be possible. The Baron, it's just highway robbery here for Hanwha Life Esports, and they're thinking that maybe they'll look for a fight as well as Viper. That Mystic Shot somehow weaving through and connecting onto aiming, and D+ looking lost.
Yeah, very short arcane shift to get him into that exact trajectory he was looking for there to hit aiming. Very clean. Aiming will be able to take out the Sundis turret in return, but D+ did not have any close wards. They knew that it was likely happening. They didn't have full vision, and they didn't have great ways to teleport both of their solo laners who were very far away. So very awkwardly do teleport them in, but it's too slow, and they end up losing the Baron here, losing a turret. Showmaker?
Yeah, Zeka is just going to come on over. Showmaker has to go golden. Hostile takeover is good defensively, but the big one is massive. Bailout. Oh no, Showmaker, can he actually get a kill? Here's the question. He throws down the ulti. Doran's flashing over the wall and aiming. Nowhere for him to go. Smashed back with a third Q. And this is looking like a shellacking wolf. Yes, it's a methodical one, but Hanwha Life Esports are just cruising towards the first victory in this Saturday showdown.
Straight up win here for Hanwha Life. Better macro, way better objective control. A classic double 80 carry Ivankov. The lane swap was clean. Peanuts early pathing, amazing. He's 6 out of 8 KP. And D+ get absolutely crushed. A near complete reversal of what we saw the first time these two teams met at the beginning of the season. And Hanwha Life strike in a very, very strong win here. Yeah. Viper got Ezreal again, but that wasn't even the biggest issue here, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like he could have been a lot of different 80 carries at this moment in time, but I swear, like, Peanut just has an affinity with trees. I think if he gets a tree, he just looks so incredibly good. And it's not even necessarily that. It's when he decides to bring out the Ivan as well. They see the Sejuani composition. They're like, oh, well, you're not going to be able to punish this. Like, the Nidalee yesterday we saw did such a great job keeping Ivan out of his jungle, but if it's a Sejuani, what's she going to do?
And you had the pressure lane top, but the lane swap happened. You had mid lane, which Showmaker was actually getting crushed by Zeka in, and then aiming got some edges and gold early, but was then eventually pushed out by how strong Ezreal is in this meta and how good Viper is at poking him out. And so you didn't have a lot of prio, you didn't have a lot of ways to control the map. They tried to make those two topside rotations to get turret, were punished twice. Hanwha, like I said, I feel literally ran circles around D+ in this first one.
They really did. It was just an out mind game in the draft, and then it was an outplay on the rift. Really beautifully done here for Hanwha Life Esports. We are going to go to a short break. When we get back, the Space is going to break that one down. We'll have game number 2. We'll see you then.
라인.
아지를 해볼게 아지를 좋냐? 나 괜찮아 쌤 좋아 나한테만 살짝 봐줘 아지를 노플
왔어.
잡은 것 같아 천천히 흔들려 천천히
아니 괜찮아. 한잔 더 해도 돼.
스테이지 노플 야큐 맞췄어 앞에 내가 탑을 준 사람? 내가 탑
탑 가면 끝나.
탑 가자 내가 탑 나이스 프로킥 캐를 주 나이스 타임 잘 봤다
근데 이거
우리 우정 초반에 섹시했는데?
이거 정글을 그냥 띄워놨어.
현준이 형 나이스 했다
현준이 잘했다.
내가
나이스.
현준이 형이 잘했다
위에서 하보자. 이거 다음에 이거 끝나.
나이스 3판 자르자
Let's see what the draft is going to look like here as we see the Renekton get taken away from Doran again.
Yeah, on the blue side as well, which is quite interesting, seeing that ban come through here. But maybe it's just there to shore up the fact that they can possibly get themselves a Rumble. Lee Sin going to be taken away. I think the Vi probably going to be removed as well. Maybe Double Tree to be taken off the board here by D+. As, yeah, the Vi, pretty comfortable one. And do they just ban Sejuani or Ivern here is the question that I have. Because, of course, they want to angle towards the Ezreal first pick themselves.
Corki also could be a strong ban here if Showmaker has no intention of playing it, but they will take the Ivern instead. And that is going to at least allow D+ to play League of Legends in Game 2.
There we go.
So I do appreciate that ban. Let's see if Hanwha Life... I mean, this feels like it has to be a Rumble ban.
Yeah.
But let's see if the Ezreal is going to be banned instead. So this is a lot of respect to Aiming's Ezreal. Again, considering Viper is the stronger Ezreal player, but they have B1, they're willing to give this Rumble up. And that tells me that Doran has something prepared here.
Its name is Cassante.
I hope it's not Cassante. But it could be a lane swap.
Sante. Yeah. Something like that could be possible. Let's see what Hanwha Life Esports actually do go for as far as this first couple of picks is concerned. Zeri pick away from Aiming is a decent one. Peanut, of course, feels a lot more solid on this Sejuani pickup.
And the thing is, like, Showmaker doesn't want to play Yone. You know, he's tried away from that. Zeka loves to play Yone, so they actually will get a power pick with this Sejuani. Very likely, because there's no way to deny it here as D+, besides picking away the Yone, which they will not do. Lucia looking for the Poppy potentially here would be really interesting to pick up at this stage of the draft.
Wukong's the old classic into the Sejuani. You can strip down some of those defenses, but Poppy, we've seen handshook into this many times before, can deny the Arctic Assault. I kind of like it.
Yeah, Wukong is very sticky on the Zeri, but okay, this is D+ doing the D+ that we like, right? Right, D+?
I want the Talon. That seemed like a fun option. But I think it's probably
that
Twisted
fun.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, Showmaker just cycling through some things before he picks TF, I think.
Could be LeBlanc here.
Oh, okay, there we go.
All right, well, that's going to, I think, shy us away from that Corki mid here for Zeka. And it will look like he's going for the Azir himself. This is an older matchup that we've seen a lot in the LCK, but not as much recently. And this is one that...
I like this a lot more.
Now, playing the Yone... Okay, this is getting weird. Playing the Yone into the LeBlanc is a little bit uncomfortable often for the Yone, especially with the electrocute power on this patch. It's really easy to trade away from the Q3s, and, you know, the LeBlanc, as we were joking about yesterday, can go back, and you know you have the control of when you go back. The Yone kind of always has to go back in some of those parts of the matchup. And they'll prioritize the Cassante here for Doran instead into a Rumble, and that just screams like they've got a lane swap prepared.
Oh, yeah. I don't know whether they really want to go into just regular 1v1 in that particular matchup, but it was something that Doran managed to navigate pretty beautifully last time around.
You can ban both the Azir and the Yone here, and it feels really strong. I think they will likely do that.
Yeah, I would agree. Kalista Ashe, a pretty understandable one there as well, given the fact that the 80 carry pool was relatively untouched outside of the Ezreal. And so I think, yeah, Zephyr still having a little bit of a think about who to take away here. We are getting down to the last few seconds.
Could be, like, also considering a Senna ban. Lulu also another consideration. You know, if we were going to do some crazy stuff with this Zeri, you know?
Yeah.
We've seen Cassante, but we've seen Sion mid into LeBlanc, and there is some flexibility in this draft, but I feel like really throwing darts to the board to try to do that one. They'll take away the Lulu instead for the laning phase. Great with the Sejuani, and this is just going to push Zeka onto the Corki, which, when you consider, you know, he didn't want to play Yone into this LeBlanc. They took the Azir away from him. This still doesn't feel that bad, to be honest, into the LeBlanc.
I mean, I guess, but it is a lot of AD. Poppy will be difficult to get through, but of course, with a Rumble, it's not like an actual tank.
Yeah, he's not building MR.
Yeah, so
sorry, armor.
Yeah, so it's not as much of a big deal, but still, you know, damage profile is somewhat important. Aiming, thinking about going back towards his Kai'Sa.
He is very well known for this pick, and has given us some fantastic games, especially when AP Kai'Sa was a little bit overtuned. He was very strong in that meta. Great into Zeri in the isolated 1v1. Played well, can be quite strong here. The question is, what does he take with this? Basically, everything is up. I mean, you could go Leona here, you could go for the Alistar, you could go for a Rakan if you really think you're going to have enough setup. As Poppy is also an option.
All right. That is just Wukong for the jungle, and we're going to have a Poppy support. A little bit of Mickey X flavor for the bottom lane. You like to see it.
It could also weirdly, unlikely, but maybe be Rumble in the support role as well, but I don't think that they will do that. That's
true.
That's not as common as it used to be, but we'll wait and see.
But also, Rumble is a good matchup into Cassante.
Yeah, so I think they'll probably keep that one top. The Janna, though, considered
a little
here.
bit of Reckless flavor? Oh, man, no, it's just going to be Braum. So never mind. Delight going to bring that one out. They do have a bit of engage with the Sejuani, but this does put them on the low ebb when it comes to being able to start fights.
The Rumble here in the top side of the map is going to have a really strong matchup into the Cassante. We may see a lane swap, though, and while you're scouting lane swaps, the Braum at level 1 can actually turn a lane swap into a deadly situation if you are just trying to face check, trying to figure out where Viper is going. It's actually quite dangerous, so even if they don't end up lane swapping here, it's a very strong setup at level 1 for Hanwha Life. The Wukong is great into Zeri, pretty good into Corki as well. Lots of damage. You mentioned, obviously, the matchup as well, where he's been picked a lot historically when Wukong was very strong.
Yeah.
Back in the Sylvie era. But we'll see how this draft plays out for D+, because it feels like, while it has a lot of strong pieces to it, it's not very standard. It's very much like leaning into the, we're saying, play your style, play your own weird game for D+. But I don't know if it really works out against what is otherwise just a great team fighting composition here for the side of Hanwha Life.
Yeah, I think Hanwha Life Esports not doing as much funny business as what D+ have pulled out. But the thing that I look at is Wukong that does some damage, has some playmaking in the jungle, and there's LeBlanc for Showmaker. This is the kind of draft that D+ have historically looked good on. I think Kingen has been a great Rumble as well, even in games that they don't necessarily win. I think that his Rumble has always been phenomenal in the laning phase, so they could possibly leverage that. See whether we get 3 games for this Saturday showdown as we jump into the Rift for the second one.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Oh man, everyone is just kind of losing their minds here at Lopak. You love to see it. The Showmaker is going to scout out the fact that Hanwha Life Esports are going to be moving into their bottom side jungle.
Strong Braum level 1 will be respected here. And it's great for Showmaker to be the one who can come in there and check that out, because he could just distort away before any disasters do occur. And let's see where they go, as they are going towards the top side of the map right now. At least Delight is.
Yeah. Delight moving up there. It is going to be Doran at least still sticking around in this Tribrush. But we'll see whether this does confirm some sort of lane swap situation. And that is going to be happening.
Yes.
Zeri and the Braum up here alongside Doran, who's now just going to be moving into the enemy jungle. Kingen was just scouting around to see who was hanging out here. And I think with the fact that he just saw Doran, I mean that he doesn't necessarily 100% know, but never mind, he does.
Yeah, I think they're starting to really suss this out, and with no Braum pressure in the jungle either, does seem pretty likely that's going to be the case. Kingen sticks around, and they're going to push bottom side. Demolish, not on the Poppy here, but on the Braum, so that's going to help them, you know, win out against, or at least try to even out against the lane swap protection.
Yeah, Kingen just going to be annoying some of the jungle camps as he moves towards mid lane, and Lucid moves on over to discover that there is no Sejuani on this blue buff. And so we'll at least now get confirmation that Peanut is in this area, as we've got a bit of a 2v2 in mid lane. with Zeka and Doran being the ones to defend as this shove does come in. This time around, though, in the lane swap scenario, Showmaker has control of the lane.
Yes, and Lucid is already putting the pressure on. He's taking away the Gromp right now. He's trying to get some advantages here and may be able to take some of Peanut's jungle away, deny him from crossing. As Braum is losing a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, because he also won a lot. He just lost a lot in a row, so I think he's still very strong. I wouldn't read too much into that.
Yeah, I think Braum angles, something that some teams have sort of failed to appropriately identify. I don't know whether this is the best one, to be perfectly honest, but you can block a fair bit of stuff that's coming in. And that could be important here. Although it doesn't really feel like the checkmate Braum type scenario outside of having a very strong level 1, like you were talking about previously.
Yeah, I think it's great for what they're trying to do with the lane swap, and they are going to deny a lot of farm here. We'll be able to grab this plate as well. And yes, plates are going down bottom side here, but D+ are kind of paralyzed right now, and Doran's just going to TP, and against the solo Kai'Sa, there's no punish, no one to stun him. They drop the ward down too late. He shows up. And Viper picks up a ton of gold here that I think he shouldn't have been able to get, but D+ just really struggling to respond here to the power of this Braum early, struggling to get close to the turret. This Poppy gets a little bit abused, and Lucid was able to take some jungle away, but it isn't going to be a massive advantage he picks up here over Peanut. In fact, it's just kind of catching up at the moment.
Yeah, Peanut just going to walk past Showmaker here and over into the enemy Raptor camp. Not actually back up and available just yet, but like you say, double scuttle going to come through from Peanut, who has just been running the jungle. He is like, you young whippersnapper, I will show you how it's done.
And I think that
he's really dominating these early games.
We've seen some of Peanut's mechanical mishaps, some of his missing his Sejuani ults and stuff like that, but when it comes to early pathing, I mean, the only person who's really close to him is Canyon, right? And
yeah,
Canyon, you could argue, is the full package. Peanut sometimes isn't able to live up to Canyon's current mechanics, but I mean, Peanut is very clearly number 2 right now, I feel like, in our league, and he is really showcasing in this series just why, with his early pathing, use of pressure on the map. And this Rumble will still win the lane after we swap back, and that's still going to be an advantage, but it won't be as accelerated for Kingen as it would have been otherwise.
Yeah, the way that Hanwha have been utilizing these lane swaps has been really beautifully done. And let's see what can actually happen here as Kellen looking for a bit of an angle. Viper taking a bit of damage, and Lucid was skulking around, but isn't actually able to find an avenue in.
So 2 games in a row, Doran gets the lane swap, avoids the early levels, will try to stabilize, and they get even plates, Viper and aiming, right? In this lane swap, and Viper's looking for a second one down here in the bottom lane. It looks like he is going to get it here. Very close, not on this wave, but on the next.
Heroic Charge is going to push Delight into the wall here, as Steadfast Presence means that no stand behind Braum is going to be possible.
Still getting the Dragon as well, Atlas, all while this is happening. And this is just Viper setting up domination in this game already. Like, it's a tough matchup into the Kai'Sa, but not at level 5. Not when Viper can actually just 1v2 and not care about this underleveled Poppy. And that's just straight up a Dragon.
Yeah. Doran now up here towards the top side is still losing out like you were talking about, but I imagine that especially after game number 1 where things went a whole lot better than expected for Humble Life Esports, he's going to be filled with confidence. Lucy's going to come on over and answer with some grubs. We'll see whether there is going to be any response, but with the fact that mid lane is still under control by D+, it is going to be a possibility here as Delight going to get pushed into the turret, but Kellen is Poppy, so doesn't have a massive amount of damage potential.
Yeah, Viper picks up that plate. Split gold, of course, between him and Delight, but Lucid, in return, will get these grubs.
Yep.
And this is significant, obviously, for what it can mean later on when you get control or the LeBlanc is hard to deal with in the side. Remember, Rumble's Q is nerfed on this patch. So
yeah, I was about to say, like, nerfed, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really look very nerfed.
But at the same time, it does mean Doran should not really be afraid of this Ignite Rumble all too much, considering the lane swap. And the lack of teleport really hurt Kingan's ability to actually respond to the lane swap or try to do anything tricky. He just kind of had to sit there and have his team come up, and that's why he doesn't have as big of a lead as he would have otherwise. But this Ignite is going to be something we'll be talking about in 20 minutes time, when we get to the late game and we get to the points where Kingen has to rotate over and Doran can outspeed him.
Well, now the all-out's going to come in, and Kingen has to flash to get himself out of the way. Almost the concussive blows stacked up there as Equalizer just to clear out the wave.
And he doesn't have teleport, so this is pretty frustrating. Not going to be a huge wave to crash in or anything like that. He's actually even going to stay.
Yeah, the cannon doesn't actually get taken down.
And you love to see these roams from Delight because Viper is still fine down here. He's got the all-in angle.
Yeah, he is actually going to look for it. Does press the ultimate button as there's a killer instinct from aiming. Is going to be able to prop the plasma as in goes Kellen. Viper surviving for the moment, but the Acathian rain comes down and Kellen will fall. It's a 1-for-1, but first blood over to aiming.
And I think Viper was not really expecting he's going to end up getting the kill there, but wanted to actually chunk aiming's health down and then be able to back off to the turret because he knows the support is, of course, away. It wasn't down there just yet, but ends up trading the kill back with a really nice extendo beam there. His cleanse was pretty instant, flashes back behind the turret, and he's able to get some gold back here on the play. Still, aiming with a good outplay there. That's why you pick the Kai'Sa into the Zeri. If she wants to play that game, you absolutely can. Just turn the all-in around with your killer instinct.
Yeah, nicely done there from aiming. Does have to invest his flash, but they get cleanse and flash out from Viper here. And so that means some respite for a few minutes' time.
And the first blood, of course,
yeah,
to go over as well.
Somewhat extra money. They also deny a bunch of farm, right? Like, the 1-for-1 trade was Viper for Kellen. And I don't think D+ really minds if Kellen's going to be going down relatively early on, as he just gets on in there. It's a great cleanse, like you were saying, but it doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. Aiming is the one there to pick up the experience.
Exactly.
Aw.
Not too happy that he died. But he just got outplayed by Viper in that situation. He had to flash in and use his charge, so there's really nothing he can do. He can't flash away. Like, he's just maybe if he sidesteps the extendo beam, which is quite tough to do in that situation.
The response was very cute, though, from Kellen, so there's at least that. Showmaker and Zeka still just hanging out in this lane. Showmaker still with that slight advantage, as we can see there in the CS. Having a look at the gold as well. It is going to be just blue across the board. Was almost Peanut with an advantage, but with the fact that Lucid still has some camps to clear, he is going to be able to pull out ahead. So looking for that Trinity Force on the Wukong.
I do think part of the reason Kellen is so frustrated is because he also used his flash for that play. It's a double flash for one in cleanse, but the cleanse is on a much lower cooldown. I don't know if there will be any reason for Kellen to be worried about that, or you know,
he's got Hex Flash.
He has Hex Flash, so he still has some engage opportunity himself. But it is frustrating. Nonetheless, especially when you consider the rest of the game state, like, Viper is still getting money. He got the money from the kill. He was the one who got that. And the light wasn't there. He gets a kill. He gets more plate gold. And this Kai'Sa lead is very slight. And it just feels like the inevitability of this comp later on, because the Rumble also didn't get massive advantages, doesn't have teleport. Speaking of...
Yeah, Peanut going to find the Glacial Prison. Kingen just looking to try and get himself out of here. Does have the Equalizer, puts it down. Beautiful position as Dorn is just going to burn down. Kingen looking for more as well, as Peanut's going to take that harpoon to the back of the head, and Flame Spitter takes him down. A double for the Rumble. That's why this champion has to be banned, and Kingen demonstrates it beautifully.
And on the other side of the map, they're pushing the pressure in here as well, because Lucid knows Peanut was topside, he's dead, and they can zone Viper out of experience. So in one fell swoop, Kingen turns this game on its head. The Equalizer placement there, just fantastic. And I think for Doran and Peanut, really hard forcing there. They know the Rumble doesn't have TP. If they get that kill, it's so huge for them. But if the Rumble gets 2 kills and Viper is zoned out of CS and aiming gets a plate, it's a disaster. And this is D+ going from strength to strength in this one. They had a slight lead, but it's pretty massive now.
Yeah. And I just love it. Like, they adjust, they move towards one of the compositions that actually works for them as, okay, aiming, looking for an angle here. Extender Beam doesn't really do too much. The door is going to say no, though. And Delight just going to be able to walk out of there. He was on fire, but isn't going to die just yet.
And this is not even like, the frustrating part about this too for Doran has got to be that in game 1, you know, you staved off the pressure, you were able to escape a lot of the tough
that
points.
Equalizer could not be better positioned.
Literally perfect, right? But if you're Doran in this game, as he is going to be able to get it with the harpoon, if you're Doran in this game, you're like, we actually staved off the pressure, but then we got too greedy. We pushed too hard here, and we got outplayed. And now this Cassante is going to feel really horrible. It was already feeling like kind of tough, but you know, we scale up. We've got the Zera, we've got the front line, we've got the double 80 carry. Now it's just like, okay, Rumble domination.
Yeah, and now it's looking like Showmaker going to find some domination as well. Connects a couple of chains, and Peanut able to get himself out of there. So not going to be too much of a follow-up on that one. 3 grubs up on the table, though, and what Showmaker just claimed was probably some control over the Herald / Baron / Grub Pit, and he is now going to be able to move himself in there. So 6 grubs to go over to D+ as well.
Yeah. Viper, you know, here in this game, he picked up a Shiv. He will be able to continue to farm, but it is, okay, Delight also in a bit of an unfortunate situation. He is going to be able to farm pretty freely here because LeBlanc will go to sides, but if they lose that mid turret, that's when it gets really scary. When Showmaker has side lane control, Kingen has side lane control, and then you just can't farm freely because your turret is gone, and Showmaker, when he's off the minimap, and when he pushes a wave, and you're like, I could die at any moment. You know,
yeah.
He could be in any brush.
And look at his items. He's got the Ludens now completed, as well as some shoes. Like, there's no Trinity Force yet for Zeka. He's still stacking up that tier. No Cull this time around in this game. Showmaker, in this moment, is so much more powerful.
Absolutely. And you can see it, well, when he hits his...
Yeah, if he hits the chain, then just have to hold up 1 second while we wait for that to be back.
Pretty easy to itemize as Doran in this game, at least, you know, with the LeBlanc and the Rumble being the big problems. The Kai'Sa will likely build the 3rd item Nashers in this game.
Could be. We have seen a little bit more of the AD Kai'Sa in some of these more AP-heavy comps, but it is aiming. So looking for, you know, an inspired build is not often what you see.
Yeah, no, we'll see what he does, but
yeah,
I think the poke is going to be more relevant if it's an even game state for that 3rd item. When you're this far ahead, though, as D+, maybe you feel like you just want to greet it and actually just be some more AD damage into the tank Cassante that isn't able to itemize very much armor.
Yep.
He's playing into Rumble, so we'll see what he opts into. As Kingen's not going to quite be able to get this plate, but Zeka is just out of the lane, man.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Showmaker as well, just so safe when he moves up as well with the distortion. Just giving him all that ability to get himself back. Is Chain going to connect onto Viper as well? As Showmaker, I mean, this is his moment, right? Like, we're hitting the mid game as Aiming does find a bunch of damage with the Void Seeker. Glacial Prison going to be cleansed immediately, and the Keeper's verdict is you're going home.
I love the concept of how D+ set this up to this. Leave the LeBlanc in the lane, knowing Viper's like, okay, it's time for me to farm mid. I've got my Shiv. And he's like, no, I'm going to push you out of the lane. Aiming's still got a turret he can grab here bottom side. And we have 6 grubs, so it goes down so quickly. They just have this lane set that's so strong. Zeka's forced to TP. They punish him also pretty quickly. And, I mean, now he's going to get this turret bottom side. Viper trying to trade something back here, but he is so vulnerable. And he's keeping this turret alive, but Showmaker is about to get unlocked.
Yeah, Lucid as well, able to take the Rift Herald, just unimpeded. I do want to say as well, I just realized why this Poppy is so good. I'm going to have to hold the thought, though, because Zeka is moving towards his bottom lane. And Kellen's going to turn up. There's the flash, the heroic charge, and Aiming is going to be able to put this Corki down. Delight puts up the door. Aiming says, all right, not going to fight you. But I want to talk about this bottom lane, because the thing that's beautiful about Poppy is that, oh, never mind, Viper is just in so much trouble. The chain's going to connect the flash forward from Showmaker, but it's not quite enough. And in comes Lucid just to try and get another charge. He will be able to get it. Warrior Trickster to try and get him out of there, but the Winter's Bite will connect. The Christmas trees come up. There's a Cyclone as Lucid going to get stunned up. Some chains are going to connect here as now Kellen gets in. Another heroic charge. Aiming, going to be able to pick up another kill. And it was all a cunning ruse. It was all a bait. It's a double kill for Aiming. And my God, I thought that maybe this Saturday Showdown wouldn't deliver. But here it is, it turns up.
King gets the top turret as well. They get the bottom turret. Aiming is just so fed he can kill the Corki in the side lane here with, of course, help of his support. But he's only a level down on Zeka, right? And look at this setup. I mean, Corki is not online just yet. The Kai'Sa is so huge in this game. They end up getting this pick. And then Showmaker's like, I've got a Herald here, and now that turret of safety I was talking about, it's gone, and Viper is gone with it. Now Showmaker flashes and doesn't get the kill here, so we know he's building Majai's this game. Right? Like, you know, we're probably going to go back to live, and he's going to have it in his inventory already. But, I mean, this is just a phenomenal setup here for D+. And then Hanwha Life really want to punish this Wukong, but it turns out he has Cyclone, and he is going to be able to self-heal pretty well, and this sets up just enough time for Aiming to rotate over here. This Kai'Sa is so
flash as well from Kellen, just in the brush. He's making sure that all the information is denied from Hanwha Life Esports, and I have to say, like, Kellen has just been studying Mickey X and like the stuff that he was doing on the international stage prior, and this is looking like a bit of a masterclass here from the man with a new champion in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, A little bit disappointed we don't have any Dark Seal or anything for Showmakers. Kellen's not done.
Yeah, Doran is going to be able to deny the heroic charge as he brings the Poppy with him.
That's an inner turret in bottom lane, and on the top side, they're not able to trade anything back. I mean, they can push King out of the lane.
It's 7,000 gold.
The Gold King.
Yeah, the Gold King.
He's like, I'm staying in lane. I'm killing the whole turret. I ain't going mid. I'm going to kill the champions. I'm going to kill the turret. I'm going to take all the money.
Remember, if he gets another one, he is the Gold King for 2024, by the way. As Viper, he's probably not, as he's going to have to get out of here as best he can. Kellen's coming on over. Oh, the buckler to the back of the noggin, but he is going to be okay for the moment. Kingen wants to find, he's just okay, almost survives as the Keeper's Verdict comes in. The rest of D+ making their way over. Killer Instinct gets aiming in there, and yes, the Rumble goes down, but that's a great knockup, so never mind. It is just a 1-for-1 in the end.
What a fantastic game here from D+. They're pushing their advantage so incredibly well with the dive composition that they have, and can't even blame Kingen for that one because you're able to follow up so well as D+. Even if he dies there, which he did, the follow-up is going to be there. As look at the damage in this game. Like, okay, Gold King be damned. Showmaker says, I'm the damage king.
Yeah, he is the damage king.
Horizon focus already. As we go back to this, I mean, you can see it on display. Showmaker, double distortion here. Chains come through. The root is there. Viper very, very low. Kellen not quite able to kill him. The buckler to get the flash. Kingen wants to set up for this, but unfortunately he's caught by Peanut. There isn't any follow-up just yet. Showmaker already used his ult, so can't actually come over here very quickly, but he still shows up.
Yep. We're going to have a look at this fight. Okay, Viper actually not able to be killed, but Showmaker gets back to the distortion and will survive. At least, you know, just barely. Only 40 health remaining as Aiming is just going to solo kill the Braum. I think that was a Void Seeker landing problem. And now he's going to look for Peanut. That Void Seeker did not land, and so he is going to back away. And I don't actually think it was. I think because Aiming didn't have Killer Instinct. So never mind. That's just a dead delight.
Just saying, Atlas.
Yeah.
Our assessment of D+, you know, when they play their style,
I know.
When they play the other style, looking like an L.
It's precisely what we were saying in the setup. Like, it's the team that's the most easy to analyze. You just look at the draft. You're like, is this the D+ win draft? Yeah. And this is an example of one of them that does. This was pretty close, though, from Viper.
Yeah, Showmaker gets the Electrocute proc here, and Viper actually dashes out of his chains. He loses his clone, but he does get him here in the end. That final Q going to come through. And this is, yeah, he just didn't even get hit by a Void Seeker. He just walked in. Yeah, unfortunate.
I think he did get hit by a Void Seeker, but it didn't have anything to do with how it
it wasn't
started.
a snipe. Yeah, it wasn't like he got caught by it. He,
I just wanted to give myself a bit of a technically right for that one, but
Baron,
not what I was thinking happened at all.
On spawn, Showmaker's holding the door. He may get punished.
Yeah, Glacier Prison going to come down. Keeper's Verdict is that Peanut is not allowed in here, but Showmaker might be taken down. He's trying to distort his way out of there. Viper is able to help take him down, but the Baron is the trade. And I think that if you were going to check the, you know, the receipts at the end, that's probably working out for D+.
Yeah, well, Showmaker's died now, so surely he'll get a Magi soon, right? You know,
now very
died,
invested in this Magi.
Come on, it's one of those games. Like, Showmaker, don't let me down.
If only it's still built out of an Amp Tome, then he could just build it now. But
he needs a little bit more money before he can actually purchase that. He is going to get punished here, but as you say, with Kellen coming in, tossing out the ult, there's just no one who can get anywhere close to the Baron. Showmaker, I don't want to say he almost gets out there, but he certainly buys plenty of time as over here.
All right, some bounty gold going on over to Humble Life Esports, as that means that the Baron power play is going to be negative, but that might be changing pretty soon as Showmaker's teleported in. Doran is teleporting out via the Death Chamber. And D+ now with a 5v4 scenario should be able to amplify their Baron power play relatively well.
Yeah, that's also a negative, let's say. Negative Baron power play going back to the positive. And Doran dying there, we'll say it's a negative for Humble Life. We're still looking at the receipts, you know, we're still doing some accounting on this game as...
Man, like, Showmaker's LeBlanc has the most main character energy ever. As we're going to go into this team fight, Delight is going to get taken down pretty quickly here. Showmaker just needs another couple of spells, but never mind. Delight will survive. And, oh, no. Void Seeker is actually going to be the thing that kills him this time. Justice for Atlas wanting to know how people die this game, because there's just so much Atlas. There's so much action all over the map. breaking my brain, Wolf.
There's a lot of Atlas, because when there's a lot of action, you got to play-by-play it.
That is true. I might have to do it again here as Zeka, trying to get some damage down, does throw out the fast bomb. And D+, I think, just going to back away.
It's so wild that in a game like this where aiming has 8 kills, you still have all eyes on Showmakers.
Yeah, he's just the main character.
Yeah,
That's just what it is.
It's just so wild. It's such a good point you make about the main character energy. He's just making so many plays here. And Viper he can't farm anywhere. That's been a big focal point of this game is Viper's like, I'm farming mid, and Showmaker's like, no, you're not. He's like, I'm farming bottom, and aiming says, no, you're not. And he's like, I'm trying to get gold. I'm really, I mean, he has more minions than aiming has in this game. He has more minions killed than Showmaker. He's CSing, but he is not getting any kills. He's sitting on 2 items right now. Aiming is on 3.5. He has a ton of money, and the burst potential is just so real that Doran, he just doesn't have a prayer. Even though he's Cassante, he's sitting on 2 items, he's got Merc Treads, he just doesn't live very long.
Well, Equalizer is going to deny this push, so Harmalife Esports not going to be able to find this inner turret as the Drake is going to be secured here by D+. Cloud Soul feels fantastic. Haven't actually spoken about it just yet.
The other thing about this Baron power play being so low is there's just not a lot of stuff to kill. They kind of killed it already. There's not a lot of turrets
suffering from success a little bit
Yeah.
here as aiming is going to find a Void Seeker. Peanut says top of the morning to you, and then he's going to die. Aiming going to get his 9th.
He's really aiming for the 1,500 kills, you know? I don't actually know where we're at.
Yeah, he might get that many in this game if it keeps going the way that it is.
Yeah, he is. He's quite wealthy. He's on 13,000 gold in this game.
Would you say that he is the king of gold?
Yes, I would.
He's getting a lot.
I think even Wuri is raising their eyebrows at this one.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy too. I mean, they didn't get that much gold out of the Baron in terms of structures because they killed so many earlier on with this LeBlanc that with all the turrets gone has free reign to do whatever she wants. And it was a 20-minute Baron. Like they did it on spawn essentially. It was like 2010. And so, you know, it's not going to be game ending. It's not going to be like they walk down and kill the Nexus because we're not at that stage of the game. But the game is by all means over. It is done. It is done. If you had any doubts.
And they just have so many answers to everything as well because from ahead, Poppy is so powerful, right? Like the enemy team tries to get any sort of vision. Keeper's Verdict can really ruin that if you have control of areas. And then, like, that's not even mentioning face-checking LeBlanc when she's ahead of you is pretty much a death wish. And aiming is just going to dive in on top as well. So if she doesn't have enough damage, then aiming's always going to be there with the killer instinct to help lock this one down. Rumble is broken, and Lucid's pretty good. He's now on this Wukong. It's the flavor of champion that we really enjoy seeing this player on.
There's such a butterfly effect impact that we had from those 2 kills that Kingen got early as well. Where
oh, yeah.
I mean, that's where things really started to be disastrous. But I mean, even outside of that, Showmaker's laning, aiming, putting the pressure on Viper in the bottom lane, these other things happened independent of that. But once the Rumble also was just like, I'm freely killing the turrets, I'm doing whatever I want, and then Showmaker's like, wow, all the turrets disappeared. There's no safety on the map.
It really reminds me of that DRX series earlier where Yehu like goes for that dive under the turret, and from that point on, they just, there's no way into the game at all. It's just one isolated moment. I think you're exactly right. Like Kingen gets that double kill. Have we seen Harmalife Esports make any positive move on the map since then? I don't think so, really.
I mean, it's just been Viper finally being allowed to farm a little bit as all the turrets are gone, so the minions are closer to him, right? He took the CS advantage. He has farmed, again, significantly more than aiming, I guess. It turns out that 9 kills is worth more than 50.
Yeah, there's
CS.
a lot of money in the 9-kill situation.
But he has like just sat back and farmed, and that's all they can do, and they have to hope for Doran to be a frontline in this game, but he's not even really a frontline into a LeBlanc. He's certainly not a front line into a Rumble, and they can just circumvent him with the dive that they have, and they will, and they have already. And that's why from behind, Hanwha Life, I mean, this far behind, it's not even just a deficit, it's just a 10,000 gold hole. There's just not much that this comp can do, unfortunately. Just that's how League of Legends works. Look at the item diff here.
They're in a void, a gold void, as Doran is not feeling as tanky as he was in the last game, especially against aiming with his 9 kills. Harmalife Esports looking to try and pressure, stop him from just walking down the mid lane and taking down an inhibitor turret. All right, he's just going to chase down Peanut here as well. Icathian Rain, pretty scary. And the more this plasma stacks up, the more dangerous it gets as Harpoon. Even that is looking a bit scary. As Showmaker diving forward. Oh, Kellen just takes that prison to the noggin, but he's still able to keep them on this equalizer for quite some time. Cyclone comes in, and now King is just flashing for Viper. They take down Delight to start this one off. Doran is limping into his jungle. Zeka going to be taken down by Lucid. Nimbus Strike's going to sort that one out. Peanut is flashing away, and Showmaker is searching for Viper, wanting to kill him just one more time in this game. Is definitely a very slippery champion, so that's going to be a tough one, as he does manage to at least tag him there with that burst fire. But there goes the Zeri, and there goes game number 2, and we get a decider in today's Saturday Showdown. An absolutely fantastic one. This, remember guys, this is for second place for all intents and purposes. D+, they managed to do it last time around. They're seeing whether they can do it again. Game 1 wasn't close, neither was game 2, but we're still going to a game number 3. It's absolutely fantastic. Bit of fun here on the Nexus as the equalizer is going to come down one more time. They can kill this if they would like to, but they want to get more kills for aiming. 10, 0, and 2 now on this Kai'Sa, as now they're going to back away because respawns have come in. Okay, let's see what we can actually find here as Lucid's on about 10 health. Burning. There's a Cyclone to try and stop it. It's Killer Instinct into the backline, and aiming just kills everyone. It's the triple, and I guess it was a bait all along. I don't know.
13 kills for the Kai'Sa. The Gold King will take out the Nexus, and we're going to a third one.
You best believe he's taking this kill as well, and there it is. 14 in the end of the day, or at the end of this game, and he is not wasting any time. Straight to the coach's booth. Let's get into game number 3. D+, even out the series. Harmon Life Esports will have side selection moving into game 3, but this is a huge momentum shift for D+.
It certainly is, and I think D+, it wasn't looking like they had full control. They didn't have massive advantages yet until that big topside play where King was able to equalize 2 people, kill 2, and then the map opens up and Showmaker can actually turn his advantage not into just a slight lane lead, but then a lot of map control. And then they push bottom side. That kill on the Viper is huge. He then can't lane. He goes mid, but he's laning into a LeBlanc. I really love the lane setups there in the mid game for D+. They knew how to play this draft so well, and they're so confident with these picks that you can just really feel that this is a D+ comp. You know, even losing on the Wukong feels unusual, but it suits their comp. It suits the dive. It's so strong into Zeri. And D+, they really bounced back after what was a rocky draft in game 1. This one was risky, but the execution backs it up.
Do you know what as well? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking it's probably supposed to be an aiming 12 out of 12. But if I still had a vote, I'd vote for Kellen 12 out of 12 times. I would try to vote for everyone.
I voted for Showmaker in this one.
But it is going to be time for us to take a short break. When we get back, the space is going to break it down. Then we'll have the deciding game number 3. We'll see you there.
타워 줄게 타워 다른 사람 쳐줘 타워
나 이거
5초
야 그냥 앞라인 싸면 앞라인
침착하게
싸면
침착하게 해봐
앞라인 싸면
나궁 2초
야내 포르키 나오거든
아니 봐줘 나다 야 코르키 나왔어 야 빼라 안될듯 야 크나 잡았어 크나 안될듯
야 빼면서 보자
포르키
빼면서
앞에 애들아 봐줘
나 궁시 봐줘 궁시
봐주면서 빼봐 나
포르키
앞발키리
나 9호초
야 천천히 야 이제 빼라 제리가 안다 나궁 군대
야 볼게
자자자자 오른쪽 볼게. 나 죽었고. 대리 나왔다. 야 볼래? 얘 노플에. 야나 벽공격해. 터져봐. 더블 5초. 야풀 줄여봐 일단. 더블 2초.
노플이야 노플.
야 타워 칠게. 타워. 야 벽공 막아줄게. 야 얘 그냥 벽공 해줄게. 끝났다. 나이스. 갔다.
Is to try to save some flexibility and use counter pick extremely well in that R5 spot. Stuff like the Poppy moving to support, that kind of tricky drafting that we've seen, maybe a swap from a pick that Showmaker's locked into a different role as well. It could be a way to really throw Hanwha off, because the ban tax of the jungle here that you have to pay to Peanut, the Ivor, and the Maokai, that means that Viper might get Ezreal again. It seems likely based on how D+ drafted in the first game.
Yeah.
And I think you just have such an insane edge on blue side. Let's see what D+ Kia's read is the second time around.
Well, the Rumble this time is going to be banned away, so not going to see that problem in the hands of Hanwha Life Esports. LeBlanc taken away from Showmaker as well. So we do get a bit of a zoom in on the man in the mid lane. That was an Ashe ban in game number 1. The Ivan, of course, wasn't banned away. Renekton was taken off the board on the red side as Ezreal, Ivan, and the Rumble as Maokai, the big one that is left open this time for Hanwha Life Esports.
And Maokai really opens up the Jace pick. We've seen, as a niche pick here in the LCK. Can be played mid, can be played topside. Sejuani is also available here if they want to go down the Yone route, as they're going to actually take the Zeri. Considering how good both of these AD carries are at scaling picks and now how safe the Zeri is with LeBlanc gone, I actually don't mind this at all. You can still play reactionary here. Lucid's Maokai has gotten mixed reviews over the course of this year, so not a pick that you're necessarily worried about D+ stealing away. Let's see what the answer is going to be, though, because the jungle pick is the pivotal one.
I'm not sure about the Sejuani walk away.
Ashe, though?
Yeah, you could Ashe, actually. That's a really good point. So that's a lot of engage power if they do decide to lock that one in. That's the only way that I'm kind of okay with the Sejuani being locked in here.
If it's Sejuani Gnar, then we all have to roll our eyes and get worried.
Yeah.
But I think it is going to be Sejuani Ashe, because they have great synergy together.
Sejuani Renekton is another thing, because Renekton is available, so they'll lock that one away instead.
And the Zeri's already locked, so you don't need to get the Ashe here.
Yeah, true.
And, you can still lock it in that third spot. This does, of course, mean that Showmaker, you will have some bans tossed towards him. He already lost to LeBlanc, but he's such a flexible player with so many picks that feels very good. The question is, what do you get? Do you want to grab support here now? The Braum is also another thing that probably won't get picked in this third spot, but could be. The Maokai feels really obvious here. Is Maokai Jace? I think so, and that is exactly what they're going to hover here.
Zeka could also be playing the Jace theory, so it still keeps the draft quite flexible if they do lock this one in. Very high chance that it is just going to go over to Doran, of course. The Jace into Renekton matchup has been something we've seen many, many times, and instead, they're going to move on over to the prehistoric Yordle, and that's going to be locked in. So just trying to keep that top side as safe as possible, as Kai'Sa is the choice. And aiming, I mean, he had a pretty good game too. You may as well ride that momentum into game number 3.
Now, I think from a classical drafting standpoint, this is not as strong as the Ashe, especially when you consider you have the Renekton here set up as well. But this is D+ playing to, let's play what we like, let's play what we're good at, let's play what we've mastered rather than just sticking to the meta. And that may come back to bite them, but it is definitely a good sign if you're a D+ fan that they've kind of indexed into this further. As I think some of the bans you're looking at here in the mid lane, the Talia is a big one. And then, maybe here on the other side, the Jace mid could be a look for D+ Kia. I think it's still very strong.
I wouldn't mind it. I also really want Showmaker to play something that's fun, that's interesting, that also synergizes with the Sejuani, like a Kassadin or a Sylas, one of these things that just does AP damage and does it in a melee variety. Could be difficult into some of the lanes, but if he does get counterpick, could be very fun.
There's the
Twisted Fate, going to be taken away.
I think that's a very smart ban, as this will likely be support here, as we just don't know what Zeka's going to play, and it makes the Jace a little bit less pickable here for Zeka. If you don't know what the matchup is going to be just yet, could be punished by Showmaker. Still a tough call, though, to give support counterpick to Delight. No great angle here for D+. This is the red side. They're just going to take the Jace away.
That's really fun, because now the Kai'Sa is very capable of building a whole bunch of magic damage, and so therefore you're not too worried about the the damage profile of D+'s composition. Very, very cool here. But Tristana and the Maokai together has been something we've seen many, many times. This is, just to say as well, Wolf, Renekton is a flex.
It is technically possible to be played mid, that's true. I don't know if you want to play it into Tristana, but you have a Sejuani there, and you could...
Showmaker's played it into Peanut in the past.
Yeah.
That was in the very famous game where someone lost all of their hair.
Yeah.
At least I think that was the same game. There's been a
Delight.
few of them. As Delight is going to lock away the Leona. That is a lot of power there. And now Kellen with counterpick alongside this Kai'Sa. What are they going to be picking up here? I'd like to see some more engage. I don't know about the Renata, but he is very good at it.
Rel feels like the only real angle here. If he wants to play the Renata, it's just so risky in this comp. Yeah, it's good into Tristana. Poppy,
I mean, do it again.
It's quite strong here. Very good into Leona. And, you know, I thought it was going to be a one-off, but it actually really does suit the composition and is going to be great at objective control later on, too. You have so much zoning with both the Jace and the Kai'Sa poke, and then you have this Keeper's Verdict to then try to get the numbers advantage. They have to play around Narbar, so that can get very tricky.
But also you have to play around Narbar and Steadfast Presence now, because the hop/crush into these fights can just be denied by the Poppy. So these big Nars that Doran has found in the past are going to be so much more difficult to find.
Volatile matchup in the top and mid lanes, though, and this is Peanut's Maokai, and Peanut has proven time and time again that, yes, Lucid is a very mechanically skilled player. He has great pathing, he has great game sense, and when he was on D+'s Challengers team, when they had Prio every game and they were crushing, he used that agency well, but Peanut's still a veteran. He's still the stronger jungler player, especially this season. Then he has that Gnar lane in the top side. He has a volatile mid lane he can play through. Bottom lane as well, we've seen Viper really crush these when he's on the Zeri with his cool all-ins. Wasn't able to do it, obviously, the last time around, was outnumbered. But I think Peanut is really going to be, if Hanwha Life take this series, the X Factor. And he got his Maokai the only time this series, and he has been so phenomenal on this pick. So, yes, Tristana's nerfed. Yes, it's a volatile matchup, but it's Peanut who's the one who's going to hold it all together here if HLE take this win.
Exactly right. I think that Tristana Maokai is still extraordinarily powerful. Showmaker as well, he can go into melee form, so there is plenty of power alongside this Sejuani. A much more even draft state, I reckon, moving into game number 3. Let's see how it goes.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Oh man, all right. Fans are very ready for this game number 3. We'll have to see how it is going to turn out as Lucid just going to face check Peanut here. And Peanut will wander away, as it looks like we might have our first game without a lane swap as well. That would be fun.
Yeah, I'm loving the lack of a big draft gap. I'm loving the lack of a lane swap. Well,
maybe the lane swap is going to come through from D+.
Could be.
That would be pretty weird.
Keeping it open is preventing the Gnar into Renekton, but you know we have seen Renektons be able to get some advantage in the lane. It's just the range advantage that's frustrating.
Yep.
And it is going to be the swap. Down goes Kingen.
All right, so that's it's going to be the adjustment here, and of course you can punish a mini Gnar quite effectively with these lane swaps. As first Shock Blast goes wide. A little bit unfortunate. We mentioned this yesterday when BDD picked up the Jace mid. Actually had a great game on that one as well, despite the result. But Showmaker was another one of our mid Jace players that did do exceptionally well. Him and Chovy, certainly two of the names that do come to mind as playing the mid Jace very, very well.
Doran already sussed this out. He's playing super far back. Isn't going to get pushed into any walls. Isn't going to have to start hop. It's going to be completely fine here. We'll lose some CS, of course, as that's what happens in lane swaps, is you're just not allowed to farm minions.
Yep.
Look at these win rates, by the way. Peanut has been banned against him so many times. 3-0 Doran, also 2-0 on this pivotal Gnar.
And Kellen only just playing the Poppy in the last game, as you saw there. 1-0 already put together. As D+ with some tempo advantage coming out of this lane swap. As we're having a look at...
game win streak.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad here, Peanut. His win rates are very strange. It's like Maokai and Kha'Zix are like his highest win rate champions.
Yeah, very weird, but you know, if you're watching Peanut, you can understand as Kellen is going to be annoying here, and Peanut's not going to be able to take this farm for free.
Yeah, and in fact, Delight looking for a little bit of a answer here as the hop forward from Doran, leapfrogging over Zeka. That was some Yordle synergy. You love to see it as Kellen on vision right now. And Peanut is here as well. It is 4 people from Humble Life Esports in this area. Lucid now going to be set up. 3 versus 2 in this isolated scenario as they do manage to get... Oh, the heroic charge is so good. That is first blood going over to Kellen. And now it is a 2 versus 2. Jace is going to be here a little bit late, though, and Zeka gets the roam over. Now Lucid trying to turn it. Delight flashes away, and it's a 1-for-1 trade in the end.
Kill going over to the Tristana here versus going over to the Poppy. Definitely a trade up, even with the first blood. Going to D+, Hanwha Life winning out on this one in a big way. We saw the teleport from King and bot side during all of that. Wasn't able to help out or be involved. Didn't want Zeri to get those extra plates. He still gets 2. And HLE, definitely the big winners of this one. They will lose this topside scuttle. But I think that is definitely going to feel like a consolation prize more than anything else here for the side of D+. Really good way to turn a really tough situation into an okay one, though. Snap decision is Kingen will get the stun. Snap decision there from Kellen to guarantee they can blow up that Gnar instantly, because otherwise this could have gone even worse. I think that was really well played considering they were on the wrong side of the map to actually skirmish that.
Yeah, I think Showmaker as well. Missing a few of these shock blasts really meant that the health bars were a lot higher than they could have otherwise been in some of these moments. So we'll see whether he does get his eye in as we move further into this game. But still, pretty even game state, all things considered. About 400 gold going to be the resulting advantage for Hanwha Life Esports.
Aiming missed a ton of farm. Obviously, he's going to find himself 10 CS behind. Also, didn't get any plates topside, whereas Viper gets 2 because of that lane swap protection. So Jace can't join this fight, right? So Lucid and Kellen either just have to retreat back and probably get caught and die, or they can at least trade a kill onto the Gnar. So that was really well played. Aiming comes down here, and then it feels like, okay, maybe this is winnable, but Showmaker is just not here fast enough. He didn't have any prio. Shock Blast not going to be high value. So ends up being a huge win for HLE, but especially for Viper, weirdly enough, who wasn't involved, ending up grabbing those 2 plates.
Yeah, the Zeri is a lot more on track this time around. We'll see whether Viper is going to have a good game in this one, because he wasn't really allowed to play last time around. Now that a lot of these waves have been picked up, though, D+ are feeling like they are kind of back into it. Showmaker going to push Zeka out. And you've just got a pretty even trade between the Tristana and the Jace. Still farming out pretty effectively on both sides of the mid lane matchup. We'll just have to keep tabs on it to see whether anyone is able to pick up any sort of advantage. As here in the bottom lane, just some honest 2v2ing after the lane swap has dissipated. It's good to see.
The difference, okay, this is just going to be a trade. The difference between the Jace and the Corki, or rather Jace, okay, I'm just so scared he's going to actually play. I'll wait on this one as Lucid scares him away. Jace versus Tristana, the health nerf isn't there for the Tristana. It's the changes to her Q, right? Whereas we saw yesterday BDD against Faker's Corki. Corki losing that health really means that you have a lot more all-in potential. You have real kill pressure. He's still a little bit less here in the mid lane in this matchup for Showmaker, so can trade aggressively as he is doing, and that's correct to do, but that extra kill is going to definitely make it easier for Zeka to play this one out, especially when you consider the counter first back here for Showmaker is just a tier in refillable.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of extra power being picked up as Delight roaming a little bit late. They want to actually challenge for these grubs. They are already starting to go down. Kingen with the lane control that he did have hit 6 before Doran was able to get there, because of course he did have his stint in the Death Chamber earlier on, and will finally hit level 6 now. Peanut coming on over and should be able to steal this. Yeah, it does so with the smite up and available. Delight, Plasma going to get procced, so a fair bit of damage onto the Leona, but she's very tanky. Doran moving down towards the river here as Showmaker starting his back just to make sure that he's here to try and protect Lucid if possible. And he is going to be able to secure it there. We'll be able to take down the Rift Scuttle. So, couple of grubs going on over. We've got a little bit of a fight here towards the bottom side as well. Shield of Daybreak comes in as Viper looking to try and chase after the Poppy. He does so. Can Aiming get the kill back? Killer Instinct comes in. One more auto will do it. There he finally finds it. And now looking to try and take down Delight as well. But the Leona's pretty scary.
Still a splash.
Supercharger, there it is, and it's a double for aiming. Oh dear. And Life Esports fans should be worried.
It's not the first time that we've seen Viper look for the all-in and it backfire here because of Kellen on this Poppy. And, I mean, aiming, there's no barrier for Viper in this situation. The cleanse isn't going to really be any value in this kind of awkward duel between the Zeri and the Kaisa, and aiming has the ability to just ult in. Like, you can close that gap. You're not safe. You can flash, but not going to get away from him. And then, unfortunately, because Delight really committed to the play, he ends up getting taken out as well. There are limits to how tanky Leona can be, and even with low health bars there for aiming, he just kites it out really well. Has the flash if he needed to flash for one more auto, but doesn't even need it, so doesn't have to expend that one. Viper's flash now down, and 2 kills go to aiming. Kind of a disaster here for HLE. A big trade back here of gold to D+, putting us back into an advantageous position for them.
Yeah. Relatively even game state, but like you say, I feel like the tempo has switched. Steadfast Presence still proving to be very valuable into this Leona. Just doesn't seem to make these Zenith Blades work. And I just don't think that the good news is going to start for their battle with the Steadfast Presence, right? Like, Nara's going to struggle a whole lot with it as well. We're going to check out this bottom lane play from the perspective of the Gold King himself.
Yeah, look at this. Steadfast Presence, I mean, Viper is focusing on aiming. Delight is just zoned here. Cleanse is fantastic, but, I mean, Delight can't do anything here. And then, look at this. Like, do I have to flash for this? Nope. Just barely enough.
Flash the whole time as well. It's kind of crazy.
It's actually crazy. And that really turns around the bad skirmish that happened topside.
Oh, there's another Steadfast Presence. Not actually there from Kellen. He's going to run away. Does have Lucid in the area. He was starting off this Dragon. And Extendo Beam almost clipping Kellen there as well as he makes his way out. So the Zenith Blade actually working this time for Delight. If the Poppy isn't there, that's when you have an avenue in.
Yeah, that was a really good punish of the Dragon attempt by the bottom lane of HLE. If everyone's set up there, then you can't make this play happen, but you not only know that they're on Dragon, but then can further deny it as Kellen loses all of his health bar there. So well played.
Yeah, Lucid actually pretty aware of what Peanut's doing here. The ward is good, but isn't actually going to be able to challenge the Maokai. It's just throwing saplings around the jungle. Showmaker going to give up a plate here, so Zeka is still doing some Tristana things despite the nerfs. And we'll be able to at least get a bit of extra money back. I think the Tristana is going to be a story for later on in this game. A couple of items probably need to come through, Kraken Slayer and the Fidget Spinner.
If the kill hadn't gone over, as Doran will have to hop away, if the kill hadn't gone over, the plated steel caps wouldn't necessarily be ready here for the Dirk that comes out for Showmaker. So we talked about, he got tier refillable, now he's got the Dirk, but Zeka's got the steel caps. So it's still really tough for Showmaker to actually get big advantages here or try to look for any all-ins or set up kill pressure without Lucid's help. And it is, of course, Tristana who can just hop away with the rocket jump if the Tristana, or rather if the Sejuani does come down. So Lucid's agency here pretty low in terms of setting Showmaker up. So really great start here for Zeka, and we'll see what he can do with sizes. Lucid,
Lucid is going to dive on forward. Does have the ulti. He's going to miss it. The Gnar does come out as Lucid's going to have to flash, and Doran just wandering his way through. That was just not exactly what Lucid was looking for there. These Glacial Prisons have been really hard to hit this week.
Yeah, it's kind of just been like every season of the LCK, there's a lot of missed ones. You can see Lucid on the player cam there looking kind of sheepish, feeling frustrated because if that hits 100%, it's a kill. But, you know, Doran, he weathers the storm. He has the flash. He's got his Gnar bar set, and he does survive here. Peanut also coming up, so if they had tried to stick around and try to set up another stacked wave, then it would have been disastrous with all that turret damage coming through. We'll watch it again here. Doran's Gnar bar is so close to completion, so they want to chain CC him here before he gets up, but the flash comes out, and then this just completely whiffs. I mean, it's just right below his hitbox there, and then he has Mega Gnar, and they cannot reach him.
Yeah, and Showmaker is now in trouble as well. Buster Shot's going to come on through, and yeah, the Nature's Grasp, not even necessary. It's just a parade of cats for fun here from Life Esports. And look, fans just, it's another day in the office here. It's Peanuts, Maokai. Don't even need to worry about it. This is just what's expected, I guess. All right, there's a heroic charge. Great cleanse from Viper. Make sure that he is untouched. Zeka is going to invest the teleport into this one, though.
Yeah, but he already got the kill onto Showmaker. Showmaker has TP, so it will be a little bit awkward here, but it's not going to cost too much for Zeka for this play. Got the cleanse for Viper. Still a great proactive play there from Kellen, trying to find something.
Yeah, Doran a little bit frustrated that the wave was actually pulled. Still D+ going to finally get some free time to take down this dragon.
Very late first dragon here at 12:30. The second one will be hidden to us for now, but Showmaker here just gets caught, fortunately baited into this trade with Zeka. Delight comes up. Great flash from Delight. Showmaker attempts the flash, but fortunately is still going to go down here. Really well played. Peanut has the ult here just in case. Yep. Right time, right place there. And this Tristana is going to be a big issue. Already has the Bork online now. Is going to be a side lane threat with 4 grubs. You know, could be more, worse, but still a huge issue that D+ is going to have to respond to, as you've got also a Gnar into a Renekton, who will be a side lane problem later on too. And it's all coming up HLE in this one so far. Yes, 2 kills on the Kai'Sa, and we'll see what impact he can make later on. All it's going to take is one good objective fight here for D+ with some of the poke they have to get back into this game, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah, and there's some D+ fans, I could imagine, feeling a little bit anxious, right? Because the eggs are starting to all fall and accumulate into
the Gold King?
The aiming basket. And I think that one thing that you can guarantee is that he's going to get a bunch of gold. It's just whether or not the 50 gold from the Nexus will actually go to D+. Because sometimes they can find themselves in these awkward scenarios where they haven't found very much map control. They send aiming off to just farm, and then they lose the game. We've seen this many times. In fact, we kind of saw it in game number 1. And this draft, I think, does give them a lot more leniency. However, this Tristana is still doing some Tristana things. You can see Explosive Charge going to help try and take down this outer turret on the bottom side. Plates just falling. And Zeka is going to be a side lane monster.
And Delight's just shadowing him to guarantee they get this. They might even be able to get more.
Yeah, there is Kellen in the area, aiming.
Peanut's
trying
here.
to do what he can. Yeah, Peanut comes around. That is going to be the turret falling, though, as there's the flash out. Steadfast Presence comes in. Some more cats parading through. But it isn't going to be able to lock anyone down. Still guarantees the turret, so that's totally still fine.
It's still a huge win for Hanwha Life, but Kellen is really making a case as a counter pick to Leona.
Yep, well, there's a Glacial Prison. This one's going to hit, but Delight, he has Eclipsed. It is going to wear off, though, so he's going to die. Aiming collects his 3rd killing spree for the Kai'Sa. But are they going to be able to get anything off the back end of the play is the question. It looks like there's not a whole lot there on the bottom side.
Yeah, you grab the Leona here. It's a 3rd kill for aiming. That's pretty massive, but as you say, there's nothing critical they can get. They're not able to go straight to Herald. Doran has full control of the top side, and Viper is just free farming. This is what he wasn't able to do on this area in game 2 because of the Kai'Sa issue, the LeBlanc issue, and Zeka is, like he was in game 1, just kind of going to sides trying to pick up farm, but there's no threat. There's no way to shut him down right now, so D+ have to be proactive. They have to be setting up stuff like this where they shadow Showmaker and allow him to get into a side. Remember in game 1 he tried to do this but failed.
Yeah, Kellen and Delight just hanging out with one another, doing some annoying things, but not a whole lot of damage is up and available. This turret is likely to fall down on the bottom side. Yeah, Showmaker is going to be able to secure it there. Does sacrifice a bit of his health bar, but the Rift Herald does come down, and that's looking to break open this outer turret in mid lane. Big tempo swing if they do manage to take it down, but it is just going to be put down to very, very low health, so only a little bit of free time. And Zeka, speaking of free time, is here in the top lane.
He should be able to, after denying a significant amount of farm, just killing these minions, take this turret down. So despite not getting the full turret in mid lane, they are able to trade top and bottom turrets here. But it went over first. Showmaker.
Yeah, Kellen moving in, aiming actually going to have to flash out of that play. Keep his verdict to try and keep Delight interested in this play, as Viper does have to flash. Gets himself out of the way of that one. The Shock Blast is going to connect. Almost the last hit with the Glacial Prison. And it is the Winter's Wrath that's able to lock down the Leona now. Zeka is rocket jumping in. Lucid just going to stand his ground, but the AoE damage is just gigantic. Kellen tries to get Viper out of that fight. He almost picks up the kill, actually, as Kingen looking for Zeka. He flashes over. He is indeed a ruthless predator and will be able to take down the Tristana. And somehow the kill goes to aiming.
The fight there is on a Knife's Edge Showmaker.
Yeah, Killer Instinct comes in, and that's a Fed Kai'Sa for you. Sets it up, and he's going to knock him down. Doran here a little bit late to the party, turning up like Donald Glover, I think. Not having a great time. Still going to be able to chase them out some lower health bars, but they are not going to be dying anytime soon.
They don't want your pizza, Doran, but
yeah.
I mean, look, this was such on a knife's edge, the way that everything went down. When you've got the commitment there to take out the turret, which looks like, okay, it's going to get punished. Then the overcommitment into the Maokai ultimate with a lack of vision. Almost looks like, okay, well, this is going to be a disaster for D+. They also lose the turret, but then they are able to, in the extended play, turn this one around again. So starts off with, we got to get this turret, and then, uh-oh, we're in a bad spot. Peanut is just going to rotate over, though, and as Showmaker decides he wants to go in after this pick onto Delight, that's when disaster strikes. Zeka's coming down here as well after taking that top side turret, and then this Maokai ultimate helps peel. But unfortunately, there's also a TP, and Kellen actually buys a lot of space here. Lucid gonna end up going extremely low and then go down, but Kingen shows up and they get the lockdown onto the schedule.
Buster shot was so weird there as well.
Yeah.
강남 해볼게.
Oh, this is Showmaker's point of view. I was like, is this Viper's point of view? He's asking for the ult.
Yep, he's just like, make sure that you can ult in, and we'll kill him.
정화도 뺐다.
And also say he got his flash as well. Very, very broken up fight, but a lot of twists and turns. This is the back and forth I was hoping for. It's a 5-kill Kai'Sa, a 4-kill Tristana.
Yeah, and like that looked like a winning play for D+, but if you look at the gold at the top of your screen, they were able to take down the outer turret in the mid lane. They were able to take out the top lane outer turret prior to that play as well. So Humble Life Esports still has a whole bunch of money. A Tristana, a Zeri, and they are pushing on an inner turret, and you can tell exactly why D+ are trying to defend this. Lucid going to be coming in. The Nature's Grasp comes down. Doran is really, really dead, but they get the Crocodile as well. Two top laners, both lying on the ground, as now D+ are going to chase out Hummer from this play. They weren't able to take down the turret, and Kellen looking for an angle. Delight moving forward might be a mistake there as a heroic charge. Does push him towards the wall, but not into it, and Kellen's going to be punished. That's going to be the kill, and it's in fact Delight that grabs it. Some supportal combat victory.
It's a 2-for-1 here for Hanwha Life, but just constantly putting that pressure on these turrets, constantly putting the pressure on the map, just not letting D+ sit back, because the only reason why they were able to even get the first brick, you know, and actually do anything on the map moments before is because it was such a heads-up play from Showmaker, knowing where everybody was to actually be able to go down and get that bottom turret. But now they're not going to give anyone any time in a side, right? They have this Maokai ultimate, which is super frustrating to deal with. Doran goes way too deep for this, however, and it is kind of a disaster. But then chasing further down here to try to actually get some more gold into your carry, Showmaker, and aiming. So a bit of a bridge too far here as you're fighting into Viper in this choke point. There's the Leona front line, and Kellen, you've only got one steadfast presence, and there's a lot of other CC you're going to have to deal with here. So a bit of an over chase there.
And also, like, engaging onto a Leona, guys, is not something that we recommend ever. Especially, like, in a 2v2, you don't engage onto Leona, but there are 280 carries in this scenario that just rain hell down on top of you.
Yeah, if she's by herself, sure. You know, you kill her eventually. But if she's not, that's a problem. As Gold King, once again, by the way, aiming at the top.
Aiming is likely to win another reward.
And they're going to
we'll see.
Go over and take this top turret, he and Showmaker, so he gets more gold. He is very large. He is going to have that Nashor's Tooth pretty soon. If he's not going to buy it on this back, he's got to be very close.
Oh my god, maybe they lost a game so that Aiming could have more time to make more gold.
And get more kills to hit 1,500. You know, maybe.
That's crazy. That's a conspiracy. I'm going to take off the tinfoil hat and go back to the commentary, as inner turret is going to fall down, and D+ still find themselves on the back foot. As Doran turns Mega, and we got some pings around this Baron pit that only just spawned about a minute ago, but 1,000 gold lead is not really a massive one. It's a little bit over that, but Humble Life Esports probably not going to be looking at the Baron just yet, but they will have a lot of damage to it, especially with Leandri's picked up by Peanut, adding a fair bit there as well with the burn.
I also just need to tell everyone that I just realized that it was Vipers on the 15 and not Aiming, because he was the one who got the game. Yeah, I said it backwards the whole time, and now I feel really embarrassed. But he's close to 1,500 kills in this series.
Yeah. I think you know, Aiming is also getting closer. I don't know whether he's actually behind. I think he's actually ahead. So unfortunately, we don't even have that to lean on.
Yeah.
But it's totally fine.
It's a lot. It's a lot. We're setting up for Baron here as Hanwha Life. They have the vision cleared out. They've got insane turn with this Maokai in this comp. They don't have a Tristana TP, but she's already here. She's on the top side of the map. This is a really good and clean setup. It's very difficult for D+ to actually break through. Now, they're not going to start it just yet, but the threat of this keeps so much attention on D+ towards the top side of the map.
Oh man, that's
And
a
Showmaker,
lot of items.
Look at all the vision that they have around this Baron pit. Like, Showmaker is fighting blind. They are going to just throw this shock blast in and say, all right, like, I'm checking this out because they could be doing it. Very scary. Viper showing mid. Again, seems very unlikely. Aiming is huge in this game. He's going to have the poke. Showmaker's going to have the poke. They need to fight for vision so that they can actually land that poke and then slowly chip away so that they can ult somebody and kill them with all the money that Aiming has. And the fact that he has this third item now allows for that additional poke. So this is a huge spike for him for neutral objective fight setup.
Yeah,
see how this plays out.
The upgrade for the Void Seeker is going to be a big one here as he does find another one there. Shock Blast connects onto Viper. Oh man, that was almost no damage at all, but did instead do a whole bunch. Now Viper, he does have a Vamp Scepter, is building towards Bloodthirster third, I think, just to make sure that he can kind of mitigate some of this poke. I don't mind the idea, as Showmaker really has started to get his eye in, and it's about time as well, because if you can land like a few crucial Shock Blasts, that could just be Baron.
It definitely could be, and that's exactly what D+'s MO has to be for these fights. You land a few of those, then you put the Poppy ult in, and then bam.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it takes. I mean, Peanut has the ability to mitigate the follow-up engage, so you really have to be wary of this Maokai ultimate, but it's the vision that's the most important. Now, I love this. Aiming has so much money they can actually soul this dragon so quickly while they continue to contest Baron.
Oh, Lucid gonna get caught out of position here. 3 members, but that's a clean flash. That gets him out. Still, does mean that Flash has to be burnt. Life Esports going to accept that one. Only investing the Ignite and the Solar Flare.
No Maokai ultimate now, though, and that is definitely a potential issue here as D+ just group up real quick, and Kingen does have the TP. This could be the moment where D+ start to not the Baron, but start to actually control these brushes and look for poke and look for the re-engage here as Hanwha Life struggle to get in. And the Kai'Sa is so big that, you know, if she does get some additional time, if Hanwha Life, you're bluffing, they can actually do the Baron, but it's not going to be an easy start here, but the turn, very tricky to execute. They are going to start this up.
Yeah, it's going to go down very, very quickly as well. Aiming has so much DPS with this build as well, as Zeka is going to get tagged. They do back away, not wanting to trust any sort of 50-50 or anything like that, as Doran, he'd moved in as well.
I don't think they have enough control to start it. They have enough to you know, fight in the choke and poke, but to actually start it, even with the Maokai ultimate down, a little bit ambitious just because there's not enough time for that poke to land. If they had landed some poke and then they had that choke point set up, then I think absolutely they could start that. They were a little bit indecisive. And it's kind of rare to see one of these D+ calls because we used to criticize them for this, especially in spring, all the time. For all decent early game, but then we go to decision making, it's not happening. For this season, it's really not been the case, but in this draft, it's such a tough call to make, and they're a little bit indecisive, but there's no punish here from Hanwha just yet. Zeka maybe in danger.
Yeah, the Glacial Prison does go wide, but Zeka is jumping the wrong direction. That's a Killer Instinct, and that is a dead Tristana. Side lane pick comes in. A dangerous one, because they're aiming to the bottom lane. That's all of their money very far away from the Baron. But they are able to get their prize. Zeka finally completes his Lord Dom's regard, but he is still with a gray screen. And Aiming actually going to look for a back here. I think that's smart, because otherwise they could look to try and get a bit of added setup. But without Zeka, it is hard to lock down the Baron.
Zeka does have TP, so I don't think D+ are going to be starting the Baron up either. The vision also went to Hanwha Life. This is a very close game, very back and forth. I love this call as the focus is on clearing Baron vision right now for D+, and Zeka is unfortunately alone. And even though the ultimate doesn't land here, Aiming is so big, he just puts a shield up, presses R, and jumps on him, and he dies. And that's the end of the Tristana there. He's back alive now, will be heading topside. Does Baron juggle while we have Cloud Soul here that's a little bit low impact in this game? It can be nice, obviously, into the poke of D+'s comp, but they were the ones who picked up the last one.
Yeah.
It's a very slow and steady game here, but I think some of the advantages that HLE had have kind of washed away a little bit here as the Jace is looking towards that third item. Sejuani's become very tanky. It's really just about vision and prio. That's more important than gold right now with this small advantage that Hanwha have there.
And there's also the fact that like Aiming has so much safety on this Kai'Sa as well. Like so many times we're criticizing Aiming of having poor positioning or something like that moving forward, but like he has to do so many things wrong in order to be in a really awful position, right? You can go invisible, you can use your Killer Instinct, get a big old shield and dash, you've got Flash, you've got Cleanse. There's lots of things. As Hanwha Life Esports are just going to say to hell with it and start off this Baron. It is under full information here of D+. They're going to have to look for a turn. Shock Blast Not going to find the angle there, as even that Void Seeker, man, that was very, very close.
I do think this is a very good strategy here for HLE. Leave the Gnar on the side lane and repeatedly start this Baron, because D+ can't just insta-punish with this comp. They need time to poke. And if that poke doesn't land, you just stick to the Baron, you set up your Leona for the turn, you set up the Maokai ult, and you take it and get out.
And you have to be so scared about getting CC'd ever.
Yes.
If anyone hits you with that, then there's going to be the dive bombing Space Bane, and she is just going to land on your head, and you're going to die because aiming is so incredibly far ahead.
He has the Seeker's Arm Guard teched in here as well, which allows him to have some added safety when he does commit to that, so he can actually end up with 2 rotations of spells in that team fight after he gets the big blow-up initial kill on the first CC target. There's no turn. Leona can't just slap him and stun him, and then they blow him up. Not going to happen with that stopwatch here. It is very much a tightrope that D+ have to walk, though, in order to win a team fight, right? It has to either be that CC setup, which is mostly in the Sejuani ults that aren't hitting, or the poke. And the poke can't land if you don't have vision, and they keep losing vision of this Baron repeatedly. This Gnar is so valuable in the side.
Wow, Viper is actually much closer than I was expecting. Not in the damage numbers necessarily, and definitely not in the kills. But keeping up in farm exactly, and only 1,000 gold behind. 3.5 items now completed for Viper, wanting to get towards that Infinity Edge as quickly as possible.
That Scuttle is so huge to help clear out this vision quickly. Now Hanwha can control mid, and then start to contest that Dragon. Exactly. And there's no way D+ can go, aha, I'm just going to go do Baron, because there's complete vision control over it. And the Baron, I feel, is much more valuable than this sole point here for D+. So Hanwha really have full control right now.
Yep. Aiming can move on over there. Of course, Killer Instinct gives him so much repositional power, but still, they are just going to start this one up. And Aiming will have to back off the Dragon. Let's see whether D+ can dissuade them from completing this, as there is vision up and available. Lucid going to go in, look for a 50-50, and there it is. The Keeper's Verdict gets the jungler out of there. Kellen tries to relieve them of any sort of re-engage, but Kingen now finds himself in a very unfortunate position. He is still just slicing and dicing, acting all cool, but he is still going to be put down. That is going to be Zeka locking that one up. And D+ are going to also claim themselves a Ocean Drake. That is going to be secured as well. So the Baron and everything else, and man, the Poppy, it only has to do like a couple of things, and it looks like a game-breaking pick.
No, it's so huge here. I mean, it's saving the play here for D+. They're able to take the Baron, yes, with some losses, but it's still a massive win. And without that, I mean, Peanut just puts up the Maokai ultimate. They get the Baron. Maybe they lose one, but they have such an easy exit. And that's exactly why I was saying, they just run towards this. They set Peanut up in the spot to actually deny this, and he gets the smite, and it's over. Not going to be the case, because he's out. There's no smite in this fight. There's no secure for Hanwha. They try their best to secure this one, but they will be unsuccessful. Huge play there from Lucid to get into the pit, gets out as well without having to flash, and then Kingen is going to be the sacrificial land here, as well as Kellen, who won the play for them. Lucid secures the smite, and D+ will be able to get some map control here, much needed to allow their poke composition to really come online. They've also denied now that second Ocean Drake, which is a lot of healing when that poke connects. That will be denied from Hanwha Life.
Yeah, and I actually feel like Ocean is going to be very good into all of the saplings that Peanut's throwing all over the place.
True.
Because they're starting to do a fair bit of damage with these Leandries, and can be quite frustrating to deal with. So Ocean Soul would just mean you just never need to care about it. Viper is now moved ahead of the damage. You can see as well the saplings are indeed annoying, as Peanut is very, very close. We haven't really seen too many honest-to-goodness team fights, right? In this game, it's been a lot of posturing and vying for position, as Lucid almost brought Delight right into the team.
And both of these team comps do a completely different thing, right? I mean, for D+, you have poke, and then you have follow-up to execute a single target with the Kai'Sa. Yep. Whereas for Hanwha, you have good side laning, and you have extremely strong 5v5 team fighting, where you have 280 carries that will win a longer fight, confront to back. So I think that's why both teams are like, ooh, this isn't the fight that's going to look good for my comp. I walk away, and there's a lot of posturing. But when you have Baron, you get to kind of dictate the map pacing a lot more, as D+ are doing here.
Well, Peanut wants to find it. Solar Flare is going to come through. Oh, okay. Keeper's Verdict going to go wide, as well as the Void Seeker. So not any sort of self-imposed engage here from Aiming, as Doran spotted in the jungle.
They avoid that fight there mid. It looked like it was a potential problem, but they're not able to follow up on the engage, and now this turret is exposed.
Yeah, Showmaker does have teleport available. Doran just going to chase after King, and Keeper's Verdict going to be invested just to make sure that the Crocodile doesn't fall down. He slices. Is it going to be enough to get him out of the way of the Nature's Grasp? The answer is yes, because Kellen soaks it for him. Steadfast Presence is brilliant to deny Delight the engage. That's a Glacial Prison. It didn't really do too much there. Shock Blast actually going to land on both of the carries. Extendo Beam almost connecting. And the engages, re-engages, everyone trying to do everything that they can to start some sort of fight. And both teams just say no.
Doran getting closer to an R, but very far forward.
Yeah, Doran actually going to get engaged on here just a little bit. Kellen going to be the one punished for it, though. And Viper, he collects that kill, and now is it the Zeri moment? Have we waited 32 minutes for it? We have indeed. It's a double. Kingen wasn't even there. He's just in this mid lane trying to tidy up some turrets.
Yeah, okay, Delight also a little bit exposed here, but I don't think he can follow up on that. That's way too risky, even with his cleanse available. Showmaker's going to take a shot at him. We'll miss. They don't have Baron buff anymore, but Kingen still gets a lot of pressure done in that mid lane under the turret. And it's the Bloodthirster value for both these AD carries that's so real in this game, and you can feel it because we saw that accelerated Shock Blast hit earlier, and the Viper's like, yeah, okay, whatever, because you guys can't can't follow up. You need a few of those. If you're fighting around a Baron where Viper can't auto anything, or it doesn't have a shield set, then it doesn't matter as much when you get hit by it. With that you have a Bloodthirster because you can't heal off of anything. But when you're in these types of scenarios where the fight is being started off by Hanwha, he just doesn't care about your Shock Blast. He really doesn't care. And now Tristana has one too, and she's going to carry even less. Viper's also been doing such a great job of using his Extendo Beam to take off the edge of Night Shield from Showmaker constantly, which means he's always got to stay way back. He's really concerned about getting caught, as there's the 1500.
Yeah, he only needed that double kill, so 1,500 kills for Viper. Congratulations. See whether they can augment that with a victory here as well. Currently 2.5k ahead as far as gold, but at 34 minutes, who cares about that much? It is just not enough.
It's not the real difference maker. It's just setup. Aiming's level 18.
30 seconds, Wolf, on this Dragon.
And they have Prio here. They need to hit some poke. That's what needs to happen. Otherwise, Hanwha Life just come in and say, well, we have the better 5v5. You didn't get enough poke done. Look at the shields here for Zeka and Viper. They don't care about the poke.
Yeah. See whether D+ can actually get themselves into a position to make this one work. The flanking Renekton, going to be a dangerous one, as Extendo Beam trying to soften them up. And Aiming actually just taking so much damage. I think that was a Sapling and an Extendo Beam from Viper, who I think has just put his Infinity Edge together as well. That's a powerful one. Oh dear, I don't know about that one, Delight, as he goes way too far, but Keeper's Verdict gets him out of there, and Viper is just by himself. Oh my goodness, these Poppy ults have been absolutely gigantic. Still, Hanwha Life Esports on this Dragon, and the health bars are getting lower and lower. Showmaker, the one that can sort of stand up front, as Peanut's able to lock this one down despite the fact that they lost their main character. They're still able to do it.
Yeah, Delight with a really big mistake here in terms of the engage, but it may not necessarily matter in these team fights because there's a double 80 carry composition here. Delight actually lives because he has Aftershock, he has Eclipse, he has a Locket, and then he actually walks away. He's like, I got more Mogs and I'm back to full health, so it doesn't matter. They end up losing Viper, but they're able to lock down the Dragon, so definitely worth here. Now, Baron is live. Viper isn't up for 10, and that's enough time here now for D+ to go over here. So yeah, you got the Dragon. You don't have map control here.
Yeah, and that should mean that D+ can just stand here and take it. Keeper's Verdict isn't up and available, though, so there is a 50-50 opportunity. Peanut getting towards the pin, but it is going to be the Baron going down. Can they win the team fight, though, is the question. As Kellen, the first one to explode. Killer Instinct into the backline is Aiming, trying to get it done. There goes Zeka. It's a double for Doran, though, and he's trying to get some work done, but it's just not working because Aiming is just too big on this Kai'Sa. Doran with double buffs, looking to try and run away. And he will make it out successfully, but Viper just wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't there. Showmaker lives for so long. I think if Viper is there, this fight looks completely different, but Showmaker lives for so long that actually the Kai'Sa gets to go in, layer that damage through Zhonya's, and then set that second rotation of spells up. As this was a big mistake, but not necessarily one that ended up being too disastrous in terms of Dragon. But what it sets up here for D+ is, yeah, not able to secure the Drake, but they do end up getting full Baron control with Viper just spawning in Fountain now. It's a good attempt here. Doran's doing tons of damage, but it's the turn here. Kellen sacrifices himself. Showmaker lives for so long, but Aiming just basically 3-taps Zeka, goes to the Zonius, and he's like, watch me do it again. Takes the light out, the Baron is down.
야 트리 3보자
This is
Telling
aiming,
the turn.
telling him when
Yeah,
in the
three.
turn.
야 트리
Go for
Missed
the
Ana.
Triss. Go for the Triss.
야 트리
And
왔어
he
트리
gets
왔어
into the brush. Nice work from King in there to make sure that they
제리
have
왔어
the vision.
탑 맞게
And then
Really
telling
nicely
everybody to
done.
the top after that with the Baron buff. Man, what a close game this has been. It's been the small things, you know, the big keepers' verdicts that have given numbers advantages, the overextension there from Delight. These very small mistakes have really been capitalized on well by both teams. And now D+ with another Baron here to actually control the map further. And the more map control they have, the better this poke can feel. I think the poke is kind of negligible into the 80 carries with that shielding that we've been discussing a lot with the Bloodthirster, but you hit a few of those, it can be impactful. You hit Peanut a few times, obviously he's starting to get tankier, but can be an angle with the Kai'Sa having Death Cap and the Zephyr as well. Like, he is full build.
Yeah, he is an absolute monster. Aiming, he's probably one of the only players that we've had that's got to a build like this so far this season. We just don't see too many Zephyrs being put together, and Aiming's the one that's needed to look for more things to buy because he just has so much money on average here in the LCK. 2,000 gold is the lead. That's largely to do with this Rebel Baron power play. You can see ticking over 4,000 right now. 3K more damage, but you can see these damage numbers are getting higher and higher between these 280 carries. Viper keeping up the farm very, very well. Aiming, transitioning to killing champions in this one.
Yeah, he's doing a ton of damage in the poke. It's going to show up in that graph. It's not always effective damage, but it's the big ults from him and the follow-up killing the Tristana in the 1v1 isolated. That's the scary thing you see.
Yeah.
He's got the Zonias for extra survivability. The punish is really difficult. And even the Zeri is going to struggle to burst him down quickly in that fight. She wants to be super far away from him. So even if he gets on top of a single target, Viper can't punish necessarily. It's going to have to be a team effort. You need more CC. It's really Delight's job to splat that Kai'Sa when she goes in. But with the Zonias, Delight's just kind of sitting there going, I've got my stun prepped, but there's nothing to do. It's just so mobile.
Aiming. Just let Kingen kill the wave. You do not need any money.
Yeah.
Okay, they're just actually parking to try and get themselves a pick, but I was really worried that he was going to beeline to the minion wave. That's going to be slow pushing in, though. They're going to be able to clear out the jungle here. And we are getting well and truly deep into the late game.
What if he wants to change his items later, Atlas? You might need some extra money for that.
Yeah, I could just hear Orcs, you know, talking about Lucid just not being able to pick up any money ever because full build aiming is just wiping out all of the minions. In goes Kingen, finds a slice and a dice as the Void Seeker. Going to sail wide.
All right, 10 seconds.
Yeah, that is going to be Peanut carried towards Kellen and Showmaker here as Nature's Grasp not getting a whole lot of value. There's a Glacial Prison connecting. Peanut kind of out of the fight for the moment. Void Seeker not going to connect. Now, Harmalife Esports finding themselves some time with this Dragon. Oh, could we have a 7 Elementaler? That could be pretty fun. There we go. That's at least 6. Is this fight going to work out, though? Is Delight already down so incredibly low? Void Seeker, they're all of them so incredibly dangerous. Shock Blast now connecting. Doran on the side as Kingen is now looking for an opportunity. Keeper's Verdict not going to be in range of anything at all as Lucid still just corralling as best he can. Hanwha, they're just going to get out, though.
Yeah, looks like they do get out, but trying to engage here could be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, wanting to be able to get themselves a red buff here as well as Viper has just thrown down the ulti. Kellen finds himself on the wrong side of the fight. The slows are massive from these saplings. Extendo Beam's going to get so many flashes, and the Boomerang's going to connect from Doran. Showmaker, will he be able to keep himself alive? The answer is no, because Viper is flashing after him, and there's only 50 seconds left on this Baron.
And Showmaker's not going to be alive for it. His teleport will be back up, but he is going to have to go in instantly there with the rest of his team, but they need time to poke. And you can see in these fights, if D+ aren't set up exactly the way they need to be, if they're not in full control, if they're not dictating the pace, if aiming is not landing poke constantly, if 5v5 is just not winnable for their composition, it starts off really well for D+ with the poke landing, but they can't actually get through this vision quickly enough, and the damage is so high on Viper at 40 minutes in this game that it's taken out instantly. And then, yes, Delight insanely low here, but look at what happens next. Hanwha fight back, Delight heals up a little bit, they use some of their CC to bail it out, and then Viper is the one who actually goes in for the engage as D+ are split. and he's hitting so many of these extendo beams. His poke is so real. They say, oh, Kingan's left side, not a lot of CC for Viper here.
That extendo beam was nuts.
And then he's just like, who's the poke comp? Is it your comp or is it me?
And now they're on the Baron. It's getting taken down very, very low.
Remember STP?
Yeah, we have to be very careful of Kellen, who now has his ulti interrupted. There is the Baron going over to Hummerlife Esports. That's going to be their first of the game, but now the flank angle from King, and can he find Viper? Is the question. The answer is yes, and Aiming's going to be able to execute him. Now they're looking for more. Zekka is still an AD carry in this fight, but he's pushed away. Delight going to be punished as well, and D+ Kia in the clutch. They find the pick they were looking for.
The Baron still goes over to Hanwha Life, but it was so clean. Kingan sets him up, now interrupted. Risky call here from Zekka, but it is going to be relatively valuable here. Now, they do end up getting the pick there onto Viper. His cleanse is now down as well. Could be seeing some follow-up here, but the Baron push is going to be really frustrating to deal with, as it feels like this game is on such a knife's edge that every time you get Baron, there's a very heavy cost, so your Baron isn't as massive as it could otherwise be. It's still a living Tristana with a Baron buff, and there's a lot of ways that if they just stack up here when the Zeri respawns, they can take out an inhibitor. But it is a good interrupt here. You mentioned it in the play-by-play on Delight's, or on Kellen's ult by Delight. And Kingan's angle here. He's like, look at Viper's spacing, by the way. He's basically equidistant from all the threats, but yet still Kingan flashes on him, gets his cleanse, and then Aiming explodes him as the rest of Hanwha Life are knowing they're not going to win this fight without the Zeri. They need to retreat. There's nothing they can do to peel for him. So close. This game, it is just unreal.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And I actually thought that that was going to be potentially game over, right? But then you look at the wave states, and there's nowhere for them to go to actually start pushing with Viper and Delight dead. So I may have got a little bit too excited about D+ in that last fight.
I mean, we
the
might be
game
going
goes on. Yeah. And it's going to take us an extra 6 minutes at least to get to it.
Yeah, I mean, let's see if they can just stack up with Viper back. This is what I was saying. Like, this is where you get the inhibitor, right? Well, now that he's here, he can just continue to poke with Extendo Beam, stack some waves. They should be able to, if they group, actually get at least one, but kind of playing it real slow here, very respectful. And this is going to allow D+ to group up here and try to offer back some of their own poke.
Yeah, the Shock Blast starting to land. Edge of Night here from Showmaker to keep him safe as he steps forward.
Flank from Kingan.
Yeah, on a control ward here as well. Peanut senses it as there's a Glacial Prison. Delight goes in, a little bit split on the call here for Hummerlife Esports, and Kingan now just going to walk over a sapling. Hummerlife just staying grouped though, wanting to make sure that they don't make any sort of positional mistakes. Any mistake, and the game could just be over.
Absolutely. And Viper doesn't have cleanse, so he really needs to respect this Renekton flank, but they just kind of kite back towards Kingan, prevent him from getting into the angle. Now with no vision here, they can actually hard commit to at least pushing and threatening these Nexus turrets. Zekka's here, and slow backs here from D+.
280 carries.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if they get any time at all, these just explode. You can see it's already dead. It was just looked at, considered for a moment or two, as there is two missing from this fight. Now Doran and Delight out of position. Viper trying to be the hero, but I think Doran's going to go down. That's another one for Aiming, but in goes Delight. They find the kill under Showmaker. Can Kingan get any CC down? The answer is not quite yet. As Killer Instinct, there's the 1v1 between the 280 carries. Viper's down to his GA. And Zekka, he's going to be eliminated as well. Aiming goes into his Sonya's, but then he's taken out from the grave as Viper is still alive. And he's able to get the double, and Hummerlife Esports, against everything, are going to be able to take the series over D+.
The high-value lifesteal there from Viper as he is able to survive through everything. The GA means you gotta kill him twice. Aiming got it done once. But man, what a great game, especially from our two AD carry players. Again, playing completely different roles in this game. Yes, both AD carry, but the big explosive Kai'Sa damage, the poke versus the Zeri, then also being a poke champion later on, being the big damage dealer in a real 5v5 fight. Both these teams showcasing they are absolutely top teams here at the LCK, but it's Viper and Hanwha Life who will solidly take that second place lead here. They still have, of course, that tough matchup against Genji later on, but this is the win they needed to feel very confident they'll be skipping that first round of playoffs. A huge win for them, but man, what an insane game.
Yeah.
I voted for Showmaker right in the previous win because I felt like Aiming was more of a passenger. Yes, he got a lot of kills. He followed up. His performance this time on the Kai'Sa was so good, so skillful. Way more things he had to actually do and make the outplays in this game, but a really decisive call by Hanwha Life, knowing how much damage they had to try to force the Nexus fight there. Finally forcing a fight onto their terms. What a good game. I can't even get over it.
No, it's incredible. You can imagine how heartbroken D+ would be feeling in this moment as well. It felt like that last fight, the positioning from Hanwha Life Esports, it was so meticulous, but then when that keeper's verdict comes in, you're thinking, all right, we've seen this play before, right? You split up the fight, Kai'Sa is in a great position, but then Hanwha just seemed to have the answers in these late game team fights. Absolutely beautifully done, and once again, Viper just proves that in these clutch moments, he is just so consistent, able to utilize that GA perfectly, the build working out for him in that moment as well.
I feel like every single one of these 10 players had a fantastic game. Like, that's the crazy thing to me.
Yeah.
You know, there's no one you can point your finger at and say, well, he really messed this up. Sure, there was some mistakes from some of the players as well, but overall, the level of play we saw here was just insane. I mean, Delight with his overextension that one time, right? Kellen getting denied by Delight as well, though, on one of these Baron calls, denying the keeper's verdict. These are the big moments where you see each player has a big role to play. The main characters were the AD carries, absolutely, but it's the other 4 players who were setting them up for success at every turn, which is what makes an enjoyable game like this so fun to watch. Is there were kind of 2 other AD carries in the Jace and the Tristana. Yeah. Tristana was PvE and Jace was blasting shields. Let's be real, this game was all Viper versus Aiming, and in moments like this, you can see what Aiming can get done. Blows up the Tristana, has his Zhonya's, super snowbally, but in a closer fight, even with the keeper's verdict on the Nexus that Hanwha forced, I mean, that's when Viper has more agency, and it's so fun to watch this back.
Yeah, it's making me think that, like, is Peanut ever going to lose on Maokai? Because, like, if there was ever going to be one, like, this probably should have been it, as we're having a listen now to Hanwha Life Esports as they're just trying to figure it out. They're like, just ignore, let's just go and try and win the game.
Yeah, calling out they have no vision, so they have to respond late. They do all back here. If they're a little bit later, they just win the game instantly. The keeper's verdict is what makes this really interesting because you end up having 5v3 here, but Viper's like, I carry these. His ult is fantastic. Doran buying a ton of space here.
It's his spacing as well. The fact that Viper is always just on the edge of threat the entire time. Tagged by that Void Seeker, and that felt like it might have been the angle for Aiming to start this one up.
And then during the GA, Zeka actually does so much damage.
Yeah.
That it's actually just insane, and then he comes out, look at the lifesteal coming through from the shield bow.
Oh my god.
This is one of the closest games I have ever seen in the LCK.
Yeah, no, seriously. 51.5k damage from Aiming and 47 from Viper. You mentioned the fact that these AD carries were the main characters, and I think even the numbers are telling us that that is exactly right. And, I mean, once again, it's one of these moments where you've got D+ picking these Sejuani compositions. I was almost a believer in it this time, but Hanwha just shut them up in the end.
That was one of the best Kai'Sa performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Zeri, play by Viper there, I'm at a loss for words. I wish this was actually a best of 5, to be honest with you, Atlas. What a good game that we just watched.
Incredible stuff. And now we've got some gentlemen standing alongside to break it all down. Take it away, boys of the space.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Deer for the POG interview translation, joined by Doran and Zeka on the side of Hanwha Life Esports, who get to continue their win streak by securing their 7th consecutive victory. Congratulations! Zeka, you got your revenge on D+ Kia, and you get to take the lead in the battle for 2nd place. How do you feel? I think winning is just such a great feeling. And I feel like we had such a great match against the enemy, and I think we had so much fun today. Doran, lately, whenever you win, you keep getting POG, and this is your 3rd POG in a row. So how do you feel? I feel like whenever I get a POG, It's just really whenever our game goes really smoothly in our favor. And for today's match, to talk about today's match, I feel like I had so much fun just playing overall. I feel like it would have been such a chaotic match today. How did you feel about that? Yeah, it was such a long match. Yeah, and at the very end, when it ended, I just think that it was just very relieving in the end. And with D plus Kia performing so well lately, was it alarming to you guys at all? How did you prepare for today? In the opening, summer opening match, we lost against D plus Kia, which was pretty disappointing. So we came today to stage and practice for today just to get our revenge. And Zeka, everyone expected that this match would be intense, but no one could predict how intense it would be and who would win until the very end. So what difference gave you the decisive edge? I feel like, yeah, at the very end, being able to take Baron and taking the initiative to make a good decision was what really gave us the decisive edge. And Doran, in game 1, the enemy picked Gnar first and you picked K'Sante after. So normally, it's easy to understand that Gnar is stronger in the laning phase, so did you consider a lane swap while picking him? Yeah, in terms of swapping, I think we were the first ones to lane swap, and I think everything that we prepared for until today actually worked really well until now, so I think we're just pretty confident with our picks. And let's take a look at the next highlight. You got a double kill here, so how did you make this decision here? So the Gnar at first was overextending and he was actually forcing a lot during the laning phase. And I think we were able to catch it out really well with a good setup with our team. And Zeka, how did you feel? You know, I was taking the bot wave here, and I really just listened to my team and I just pressed TP and it went really well. It's just really all up to my teammates. And Zeka, in games 2 and 3, the Kai'Sa had so much damage, giving you guys such a hard time. So how were you able to overcome her? Yeah, the moment he picked, Aiming picked Kai'Sa, we knew that he would be really good. But because we knew how strong our team fighting is, that I think we were just really confident that we would win no matter what. And so was that because you guys thought that, you know, no matter what pick the enemy picks, that you guys would be confident? Yeah, we really didn't. We weren't really picky with whatever the enemy picks because we were so confident with what we would be able to do with our team fights. And Doran, Peanut's Maokai is on a 15 winning streak, which is a must-ban card, but it was left open in game 3. So how did Peanut react? Yeah, this is a pick that Peanut hasn't been able to play often because it's always banned. But he's always ready to play Maokai, whatever. So I think he was really happy to play him today. And Zeka, you picked the recently nerfed Tristana against Jace. So what strength were you looking for? So Tristana this patch got nerfed a lot. I think the most impact was in the early laning phase. So I told myself that as long as I can sustain myself, in the late game, she's still just as strong in team fights, so I think I just tried to make sure that I can maintain my form. So is this why you were so certain that you'd win late game? I think in the same circumstance in game 1, I feel like we ended up losing because we weren't able to keep our head in the game with the team fighting. So I think just being able to fix that and improve and make sure that we knew that we would be able to win the team fight until the end. I think that's what really got us the game. So can you walk us through this last match-ending team fight? Yeah, oh my god, the enemy was so good here and the Kai'Sa had so much high damage. And here, Peanut and I flew away from the Poppy ult, but Doran was able to maintain and survive for so long. And I think that's what really led us to actually clean up and then end the game.
기쁘셨던 것 같습니다. 자, 이렇게 해서 오늘 하나생명이 디플러스 기아를 상대로 1라운드 복수에 성공하고 매치 7연승을 이뤄냈습니다.
So with Hana Life Esports getting their revenge and securing 7 consecutive victories, for your next win you'll face KT Rolster. What is your resolution?
아, 뭐래. 2라운드 시작이 되게 좋기 때문에 되게 자신감도 있는
I feel like we have a great start in round 2 and our confidence is actually pretty high right now. So we want to make sure that we come back with an even better performance and gameplay. And Zeka, KT, they're in the peak form right now, and I want to make sure that we maintain our form just as much and make sure that we win the next match. And that's the end of the interview from Doran and Zeka, and back to the space. Thank you.